When Michael Jordan pulled into his garage late one Thursday night, exhausted from practice, he had no idea his life was about to change forever. He stepped out of his car, ready to head inside and rest his aching legs, but then he heard something that made him freeze, a car engine starting up in the darkness. Through the garage window, Michael spotted a small silver Honda pulling out of his driveway. That was strange. Nobody should be leaving his house this late at night. He squinted through the rain-streaked glass and recognized the car. It belonged to Suzanne Ali, the woman who had cleaned his home and cared for his children for 3 years. But Suzanne always left at 6 o'clock. Always. She was more punctual than his own watch. So why was she sneaking away at 11 o'clock at night? Something felt wrong. Very wrong. Michael made a split-second decision that would change everything. He jumped back into his Mercedes and followed her into the dark, rain-soaked streets of Chicago. He told himself he just wanted to make sure she got home safely. But as Susan's car headed deeper into one of the city's most dangerous neighborhoods, Michael's concern turned into fear. Where was Susan going? What was she hiding? And why had she lied about where she lived? Michael had no idea that following his housekeeper that night would lead him to discover a secret so heartbreaking it would bring him to tears. A secret that would reveal the hidden life Suzanne had been living while smiling in his home every single day. This is the true story of that night, and how one decision to pay attention changed 2 lives forever. Michael Jordan pulled his black Mercedes into the garage of his Chicago estate, the headlights cutting through the darkness. It was almost 11 o'clock on a Thursday night, and he was exhausted. The Bulls had just finished a tough practice, and his legs ached from running drills all afternoon. He stepped out of the car and groaned softly. At 33 years old, his body reminded him every day that basketball was a young man's game. But he wasn't ready to quit. Not yet. Not when they were so close to another championship. Michael reached for his gym bag in the back seat when he heard something that made him freeze. A car engine. He turned toward the sound. Through the garage's side window, he could see the service entrance of his estate. The small silver Honda was pulling out of the driveway, its taillights glowing red in the rain. That was strange. Nobody should be leaving this late. Michael walked closer to the window and squinted through the raindrops streaking down the glass. He recognized that car. It belonged to Suzanne Ali, the woman who had been working as his family's housekeeper for the past 3 years. But Suzanne always left at 6 o'clock. Always. She was more punctual than his own watch. Michael had joked about it once, and Suzanne had smiled that warm smile of hers and said, "Mr. Jordan, time is the one thing we can always control, even when everything else is crazy." So why was she leaving now at 11 o'clock at night? Michael felt a flutter of concern in his chest. Suzanne was special. She wasn't just someone who cleaned their house. She cared about his family. His son Marcus and daughter Jasmine loved her. She taught them Spanish words while they helped her fold laundry. She made homemade tamales that filled the house with the most incredible smell. She hummed old songs while she worked. Songs that reminded Michael of simpler times, of his own childhood when his mother would sing while cooking dinner. Suzanne was kind. Suzanne was reliable. Suzanne was leaving at 11 o'clock at night, and something about it felt wrong. Michael made a decision without really thinking about it. He jumped back into his Mercedes and started the engine. He would just follow her for a little while, he told himself, just to make sure she got home safely. Chicago could be dangerous at night, especially in the rain. He pulled out of the garage and kept his distance, staying 2 cars behind Suzanne's Honda. The rain was coming down harder now, and his windshield wipers worked overtime to keep the glass clear. Suzanne turned left onto Madison Street, heading east. Michael followed, his hands gripping the steering wheel a little tighter. This wasn't the way to her house. At least he didn't think it was. He realized with a small shock that he didn't actually know where Suzanne lived. She had given them an address when she first started working for them. He remembered his wife Vanessa checking references, but Michael had never been there. He had never asked about her life outside their home. The neighborhood started to change. The clean, tree-lined streets of his area gave way to blocks with boarded-up windows and graffiti-covered walls. Street lights flickered or didn't work at all. Michael saw groups of men standing on corners despite the rain, watching cars pass by with hard eyes. This couldn't be right. Why would Suzanne be driving into one of the most dangerous parts of Chicago? Michael's concern turned into something stronger. Fear. Was Suzanne in some kind of trouble? Was someone forcing her to do something? His mind raced with possibilities, each one worse than the last. Suzanne's car turned into an industrial area where old warehouses lined the streets like sleeping giants. Some of the buildings looked abandoned, their windows broken and their walls crumbling. Others had dim lights glowing from inside, suggesting life in places that looked dead. Finally, Suzanne's Honda pulled into a parking lot in front of a particularly run-down warehouse. The building was 3 stories tall, made of red brick that had turned almost black with age and grime. Most of the windows were covered with boards or metal sheets. Michael parked his car a block away, turning off his headlights. He watched through the rain as Suzanne got out of her car. She looked around nervously, her shoulders hunched against the weather. She was carrying a bag, maybe groceries, and she moved quickly toward a side door of the warehouse. Before she went inside, Suzanne looked around one more time. Even from a distance, Michael could see the expression on her face. It wasn't fear. It was something else. Something that looked like sadness, mixed with determination. Then she disappeared inside, and the door closed behind her. Michael sat in his car, rain drumming on the roof, his heart pounding in his chest. What was Susan doing in a place like this? Why had she lied about where she was going? He looked at the dark warehouse and made another decision. He had come this far. He needed to know what was going on. Michael turned off his engine and stepped out into the rain. Whatever Suzanne was hiding, he was about to discover the truth. But Michael didn't move toward the warehouse. Not yet. He stood in the rain, water soaking through his expensive jacket, and suddenly felt foolish. What was he doing? Susan was a grown woman. She had every right to go wherever she wanted after work. Maybe she was visiting a friend. Maybe she volunteered at a shelter in this area. Maybe it was none of his business. Michael got back in his car, wiping the rain from his face. He should go home. Vanessa would be wondering where he was, yet something kept him from turning the key. That look on Susan's face. The nervousness. The sadness. It nagged at him like a splinter he couldn't quite reach. As Michael sat there debating, his mind drifted back 2 weeks. He remembered coming home early from a road game. They had won, and the coach had let them fly back that night instead of staying over. It was around 3 in the afternoon. Unusual for him to be home at that hour. He had walked into the kitchen and found Suzanne sitting at the table, her head in her hands. She was crying softly, her shoulders shaking. The moment she heard his footsteps, she had jumped up, wiping her eyes quickly and putting on that bright smile. "Mr. Jordan, I didn't hear you come in. Can I make you something to eat?" Michael had asked if she was okay. Suzanne had laughed it off, saying she was just tired, that she had been cutting onions for dinner, and they made her eyes water. But there were no onions on the counter, no cutting board, no knife. He had let it go. He hadn't pushed. Now sitting in his car outside this warehouse, he wished he had. Michael thought about other moments too, little things he had noticed but never really questioned. Like how Susan always brought lunch from home in a small container. even though Vanessa told her many times she could eat anything from their kitchen. "I'm saving money for something special," Susan would say with a wink. Or how Susan's shoes were worn down at the heels, the leather cracked and faded, even though she kept them polished to a shine. When Vanessa had offered to buy her new ones for Christmas, Susan had politely refused, saying these shoes were comfortable and she didn't need anything fancy. Or how Susan had started looking so tired lately. Dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. Her hands shaking slightly when she poured coffee in the mornings. That faraway look in her eyes sometimes, like her mind was somewhere else entirely. Somewhere that worried her deeply. And the humming. Suzanne always hummed while she worked. Old Spanish songs that sounded like lullabies, but lately the humming had stopped. The house felt quieter without it, though Michael hadn't realized it until now. His children had noticed the change too. Just last week, Jasmine had climbed into Michael's lap at bedtime and asked, "Daddy, is Miss Susan sad? She doesn't smile as much anymore." Michael had told his daughter that grown-ups sometimes had bad days, just like kids did. Jasmine had nodded seriously and said, "We should make her a card to cheer her up." They had made the card together. Jasmine drawing flowers and Marcus writing, "We love you, Miss Rosa," in his careful 8-year-old handwriting. When they gave it to Suzanne the next morning, she had burst into tears. Happy tears, she insisted, hugging both children tight. But Michael had seen something else in those tears. Something that looked like breaking. Vanessa had mentioned it too just yesterday over dinner. "I'm worried about Rosa," she had said, pushing food around her plate. "She's lost weight. She looks exhausted." I asked her again if everything was okay, and she just smiled and changed the subject. Michael had promised to pay more attention, to maybe give Suzanne some time off with pay so she could rest. But he had gotten busy with practice and games and endorsement meetings. And the promise had slipped his mind. Until now. Until he followed her to this warehouse in the worst part of Chicago. Michael looked at his watch. It was 11:30. Suzanne had been inside for about 20 minutes. What could she possibly be doing in there for this long? He remembered the bag she had been carrying. Groceries, he had thought. But why would someone bring groceries to an abandoned warehouse? Unless it wasn't abandoned. Michael's detective mind. The same mind that could read defenses on a basketball court in split seconds, started putting pieces together. Suzanne leaving late at night. Suzanne looking exhausted all the time. Suzanne refusing help, refusing gifts, refusing anything that might make her life easier. Suzanne bringing groceries to a warehouse in a dangerous neighborhood. A terrible thought occurred to him. Was Suzanne homeless? Was she living in that warehouse? No, that couldn't be right. They paid her well, sorry well. Vanessa had made sure of that, insisting Suzanne deserved a good salary for taking such wonderful care of their home and children. But what if something had happened? Medical bills? Debt? What if Suzanne was too proud to ask for help, so she suffered in silence while smiling in their home every day? Michael thought about his own life. The mansion, the cars, the fame, the money. He had everything. More than everything. And here was Rosa, who had been nothing but kind to his family, possibly sleeping in a warehouse. The thought made him feel sick. Michael opened his car door again. This time, he didn't hesitate. He stepped out into the rain and started walking toward the warehouse. His expensive sneakers splashed through puddles. His designer jacket was soaked through. He didn't care. He needed to know the truth. As he got closer, Michael could see that the side door Suzanne had entered was slightly ajar. Warm light leaked out from the crack, along with the sound of voices, multiple voices, speaking softly. Michael's heart pounded. He approached slowly, quietly, until he reached the door. He could see through the gap now, and what he saw made him freeze in place. The warehouse had been transformed. It wasn't abandoned at all. Inside, maybe 20 or 30 people were scattered throughout the space. Some sat on old couches. Others lay on cots and sleeping bags spread across the floor. A few children slept curled up under blankets. This was a shelter, a makeshift, probably unofficial shelter for homeless families. And there, moving through the space like an angel of mercy, was Rosa. Michael watched as she stopped beside an elderly man, helping him sit up so he could drink water from a cup she held to his lips. She spoke to him in Spanish, her voice gentle and caring. The man smiled weakly and patted her hand. Then Suzanne moved to a young woman holding a baby. Suzanne reached into her bag, the one Michael had seen her carrying, and pulled out what looked like baby formula and diapers. The young woman's eyes filled with tears as she hugged Rosa, thanking her over and over. Susan continued through the shelter, checking on people, bringing supplies, adjusting blankets, offering comfort. And Michael realized something that made his throat tight with emotion. This was where Suzanne went after work. This was why she looked so tired, why she never bought herself new shoes, why she brought lunch in a small container to save money. She was spending everything, her time, her energy, her money, taking care of people who had nothing. Michael felt ashamed. Here he was, worried she might be in trouble, when really, Susan was the one helping others in trouble. She was a hero, and he had never known. But then Suzanne walked to the far corner of the warehouse, and Michael's breath caught in his throat. There was a small cot there, separated from the others by a hanging sheet that created a makeshift room. Suzanne disappeared behind the sheet, and Michael heard her voice change. It wasn't the voice of a volunteer or a helper anymore. It was the voice of a mother. "Misha," Susan said softly. "Mi amor, I'm here now. I'm so sorry I'm late." A young girl's voice answered, weak and shaky. "Mama, my chest hurts again." Michael's world tilted. Susan had a daughter who was here, in this shelter, sick. 3 years. Suzanne had worked for his family for 3 years, and he had never known she had a child. Michael moved closer to the window, pressing his face against the dirty glass to see better. Through the hanging sheet, he could make out 2 figures, Suzanne sitting on the edge of the cot, and a young girl, maybe 12 or 13 years old, lying under a thin blanket. Suzanne placed her hand on the girl's forehead, and even from outside, Michael could see the fear that crossed Suzanne's face. "You're burning up, Lucia," Suzanne whispered. "We need to get your fever down." Lucia. The girl's name was Lucia. Michael watched as Susan pulled out medicine from her bag and helped Lucia swallow pills with water. The girl coughed weakly, and Susan held her close, rocking her gently the way mothers do when their children are sick and scared. "Mama," Lucia whispered, "am I going to get better?" Suzanne's face crumpled, but she forced a smile. "Yes, baby. Yes. You're going to be fine. You just need to rest." But Michael could hear the lie in Suzanne's voice. The desperate hope covering a terrible fear. Something was very, very wrong with Lucia, and Suzanne was trying to fight it alone in a warehouse shelter with nothing but over-the-counter medicine and prayers. Michael stood in the rain outside that window, watching this woman he thought he knew reveal a completely different life, a life of sacrifice, of struggle, of loving a sick child while pretending everything was fine. Every single day at work. And Michael Jordan, standing there in his expensive clothes with his championship rings and his millions of dollars, felt smaller than he ever had in his entire life. He didn't know what to do. Should he knock on the door? Should he leave and pretend he never saw this? Should he tell Vanessa? Should he call someone? As Michael stood there paralyzed by indecision, Lucia's voice drifted through the window again, and the words she spoke changed everything. "Mama, I'm scared." What if the doctor was right? What if I only have a few months left? Michael's heart stopped. A few months left. The words echoed in his head like a gunshot in an empty gym. Suzanne's daughter, this girl he had never known existed, was dying. He watched through the window as Suzanne stroked Lucia's hair, her hand trembling. "Don't talk like that, Mija. The doctor doesn't know everything. God has a plan for you. You're going to be okay." "But Mama, the surgery costs so much money. How will we ever—" "Shh." Suzanne pressed a finger gently to Lucia's lips. "Don't worry about money. I'm working extra jobs. I'm saving. We'll find a way. We always find a way." Lucia closed her eyes, tears sliding down her pale cheeks. "I don't want to die in this place, Mama. I don't want my last memories to be of sleeping on a cot in a warehouse." Suzanne broke then. Michael saw her shoulders shake as she tried to cry silently, not wanting to scare her daughter more than she already was. She buried her face in Lucia's shoulder, holding her sick child like she could somehow keep death away through the sheer force of a mother's love. Michael stepped back from the window, his own eyes burning with tears. He leaned against the brick wall of the warehouse, rain pouring over him, and tried to breathe. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people he knew. Suzanne was supposed to go home to a comfortable apartment after work. She was supposed to have a normal life. She wasn't supposed to be living in a homeless shelter with a dying daughter, pretending everything was fine while she cleaned his toilets and made his children lunch. Michael thought about his own kids, sleeping safely in their beds right now. Marcus with his basketball posters on the wall. Jasmine with her stuffed animals arranged perfectly on her shelf. Both of them healthy. Both of them secure. Both of them never having to worry about where they would sleep or whether they would live to see their next birthday. The unfairness of it hit him like a punch to the gut. He pulled out his cell phone with shaking hands. He should call someone. The police? No, they would shut down this shelter, and these people would have nowhere to go. An ambulance? But Susan clearly couldn't afford hospital bills if she couldn't afford the surgery Lucia needed. Michael stood there in the rain. This man who could do almost anything on a basketball court, who had won championships and broken records, and he felt completely helpless. A sound made him look up. The side door of the warehouse opened, and Susan stepped out. She was carrying a trash bag, probably heading to the dumpster around the corner. She didn't see Michael standing in the shadows. Michael watched her walk through the rain, her thin jacket doing nothing to protect her from the cold water. She moved slowly, like every step took effort. Like she was carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. Because she was. Suzanne reached the dumpster and tossed the bag inside. Then she just stood there for a moment, her hands gripping the edge of the metal bin, her head bowed. Michael could see her crying even through the rain, really crying now, the kind of crying she couldn't do inside where her daughter or the other shelter residents might see. "Please, God," Suzanne whispered into the darkness. "Please don't take my baby. She's all I have. She's everything. I'll do anything. Work harder. Pray more. Just please, please let her live." Michael felt his own tears mixing with the rain on his face. He had prayed prayers like that before when his father died, when he thought he might lose everything that mattered. But his prayers had been about loss he could survive. Susan was praying for her daughter's life. Suzanne wiped her eyes, took a deep breath, and straightened her shoulders. Michael watched her transform herself, putting on that mask of strength she must wear every single day. Then she turned to walk back inside. That's when she saw him. Suzanne froze. Her eyes went wide, her face drained of color even in the dim light from the street lamps. "Mr. Jordan?" she whispered. Michael stepped forward into the light. There was no hiding now, no pretending he hadn't seen everything. "Rosa," he said softly. For a long moment, they just stood there in the rain, staring at each other. Michael could see the panic rising in Suzanne's eyes, the fear, the shame. She looked like she wanted to run, but her feet wouldn't move. "Please," Suzanne finally said, her voice breaking. "Please, Mr. Jordan, I can explain. I didn't want you to know. I didn't want anyone to know. Please don't fire me. I need this job. I need it for Lucia. Please." She was begging. This dignified woman who had served his family with such grace for 3 years was standing in the rain, begging him not to fire her. Michael moved closer. "Rosa, I'm not going to fire you. I followed you because I was worried. I saw you leaving so late, and I wanted to make sure you were safe." Suzanne's face crumpled. "You followed me? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. But Rosa, what's going on? Who is Lucia? Why are you living here? Why didn't you tell us you needed help?" Suzanne looked at the warehouse, then back at Michael. She seemed to make a decision. "Come inside," she said quietly. "You deserve to know the truth. All of it." Michael followed Suzanne back through the side door. The warm air inside the warehouse hit him immediately. Though it wasn't quite warm enough, he could still see his breath in small puffs. People looked up as he entered, and several gasps echoed through the space. "Oh my God, that's Michael Jordan. What's he doing here?" Suzanne held up her hand. "It's okay, everyone. He's a friend. Please, just give us some privacy." The residents nodded, though they kept sneaking glances at Michael as Suzanne led him to the back corner where Lucia lay. Suzanne pulled aside the hanging sheet, and Michael got his first clear look at the girl. Lucia was thin, too thin. Her skin had a greyish tint that came from being sick for too long. Dark circles ringed her eyes. But even weak and ill, Michael could see she had her mother's features. The same kind eyes, the same determined set to her jaw. Lucia was awake now, and when she saw Michael Jordan standing beside her mother, her eyes went impossibly wide. "Mama," she breathed, "am I hallucinating? Is that really?" "It's really him, Mija," Suzanne said, sitting on the edge of the cot. "This is Mr. Jordan, the man I work for." Lucia tried to sit up, but the effort made her cough a deep, rattling cough that sounded terrible. Suzanne helped her, propping pillows behind her back. "I'm sorry you're not feeling well," Michael said, kneeling beside the cot, so he was at Lucia's eye level. Up close, he could see how sick she really was. This wasn't a cold or flu. This was something serious, something life-threatening. "You're Michael Jordan," Lucia whispered, like she still couldn't quite believe it. "And you're Lucia," Michael said gently. "Your mom has told me a little about you." That was a lie, but it seemed kinder than admitting he had never known Lucia existed until 20 minutes ago. Suzanne took a shaky breath. "Mr. Jordan, I owe you an explanation. I owe you the truth about everything." Michael nodded, pulling over a small crate to sit on. "I'm listening." And so, in that corner of a warehouse shelter, with rain drumming on the roof and Lucia lying weak on her cot, Suzanne began to tell her story. The story she had kept hidden for 3 long years. The story of how she ended up here, fighting desperately to save her daughter's life, while the rest of the world, including the family she worked for, had no idea she was drowning. Suzanne's hands twisted in her lap as she spoke, and Michael listened to every word, his heart breaking a little more with each sentence. "I came to America from Mexico 15 years ago," Suzanne began, her voice soft but steady. "I was pregnant, alone. Lucia's father, he didn't want us. So I came here, hoping to build a better life for my baby." Lucia reached out and took her mother's hand. Susan squeezed it tight. "For years it was hard, but okay. I worked as a housekeeper, a waitress, whatever I could find. We had a small apartment. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Lucia went to school. She was happy. Everything was manageable. Suzanne's voice cracked on that last word. Then 6 months ago, Lucia collapsed at school. They called an ambulance. At the hospital, the doctors did tests. So many tests. Suzanne paused, tears streaming down her face. They told me Lucia has a serious heart condition. She's had it since birth, but it's gotten worse as she's grown. The doctors said she needs surgery to fix it. Suzanne couldn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. How much? Michael asked quietly. How much is the surgery? Suzanne looked at him with eyes full of despair. $47,000. Michael felt like the air had been knocked out of his lungs. $47,000. For him, that was nothing. He made more than that in a single game. But for Rosa, working as a housekeeper, it might as well have been 47 million. The hospital bills started piling up. Suzanne continued. Even just the tests and emergency room visits cost thousands. I had a little bit of insurance, but it didn't cover enough. I spent every penny I had saved. Then I borrowed money from friends. Then I sold everything I owned that was worth anything. She looked around the warehouse. 3 months ago, I couldn't pay rent anymore. We were evicted. A woman I met at the hospital, her name is Maria. She volunteers here at this shelter. She told me we could stay. It's not official. The city doesn't know about it, but it's warm and dry, and these people have become like family. Where does Lucia go during the day? Michael asked. When you're at work. Maria's sister watches her. She lives 6 blocks from here. She has children of Lucia's age, and she's very kind. She doesn't charge me anything, but I give her what I can for food. Michael looked at Lucia, who was listening to her mother's story with tears running down her face. What about school? Lucia shook her head. I had to stop going 2 months ago. I'm too weak now. I get tired just walking to the bathroom. But she studies here, Suzanne added quickly, desperately. I bring her books from the library. She's so smart, Mr. Jordan. Even now, even sick, she reads every day. She wants to learn. She wants to have a future. If she gets to have a future, hung unspoken in the air. Rosa, Michael said carefully, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you ask for help? We would have. I was ashamed, Suzanne burst out. Don't you understand? I failed. I failed as a mother. I couldn't provide for my own child. I couldn't keep a roof over her head. I couldn't save enough money to give her the medical care she needs to live. What kind of mother can't do those basic things? You didn't fail, Michael said firmly. The system failed you. Life failed you. But you, Rosa, you wake up every day and fight. You work multiple jobs. You take care of your daughter and these other people here at the shelter. You show up to my house with a smile on your face even though you're going through hell. That's not failure. That's strength. Suzanne sobbed openly now. But she's dying, Mr. Jordan. My baby is dying, and I can't stop it. I've tried everything. I work from 6 in the morning until midnight most days. I've taken every extra cleaning job I can find. But even with all of that at the rate I'm saving, it would take me 3 years to afford her surgery. And the doctors say I don't have 3 years, Lucia added quietly. Maybe 3 months. Maybe less. The warehouse fell silent except for the sound of rain and Suzanne's quiet crying. Michael looked at this brave girl lying on her cot, at this strong woman breaking under the weight of impossible circumstances, and he felt something shift inside him. Something fundamental changing in the way he saw the world. He had money. He had resources. He had power and influence and fame. And here, right in front of him, was someone who desperately needed help. Someone who had served his family faithfully, who had loved his children, who had brought joy into his home while her own life was falling apart. The question wasn't whether he should help. The question was how fast he could make it happen. Michael stood up from the crate, his mind already racing through possibilities. He looked at Susan's tear-streaked face, at Lucia's pale complexion and labored breathing, and made a decision that would change all of their lives forever. "Rosa," he said firmly, "I'm going to help you." Suzanne's head snapped up. "What?" "No, Mr. Jordan. I wasn't telling you this to ask for money. I just wanted you to understand why." "I know you weren't asking," Michael interrupted gently, "but I'm offering, more than offering. I'm Mr. Jordan, I can't accept charity. I have my pride." "This isn't charity, Rosa. This is me taking care of someone who has taken care of my family. Do you know what my kids said to me last week?" Michael's voice grew thick with emotion. "Jasmine asked me if you were sad. An 8-year-old girl noticed that you were hurting because she pays attention. Because you taught her to care about other people." Suzanne put her hand over her mouth, fresh tears flowing. "You've been part of our family for 3 years," Michael continued. "You've made my children feel loved. You've kept our home running. You've brought joy into our lives with your cooking and your songs and your kindness. And all this time, you were going through this alone. That ends tonight. But Mr. Jordan, the surgery costs $47,000. I heard you. Rosa, do you know how much money I spend on cars I don't need? On watches I never wear? I have more than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. And you're sitting here watching your daughter die because of money? No, absolutely not. We're fixing this." Lucia gasped softly. "You would do that? For us? But you don't even know me." Michael knelt down beside her cot again, looking into the young girl's eyes. "You're right. I don't know you yet. But I know your mother, and I know that any daughter of Suzanne Lee must be pretty special. Plus," he added with a small smile, "I have a feeling we're going to be great friends." Lucia started crying, but these were different tears. Happy tears mixed with disbelief and hope. "I could get the surgery. I could actually live." "You're going to get the surgery," Michael said firmly, "and you're going to live a long, healthy life. I promise you that." Suzanne shook her head, overwhelmed. "I don't know what to say. How can I ever repay you?" "You don't repay love, Rosa. You pass it forward. You've been doing that already. Look at this shelter. Look at how you care for these people when you have nothing yourself. You've already paid more kindness into the world than most people with everything." Michael pulled out his cell phone. "I'm going to make some calls. We're going to get Lucia into the best hospital in Chicago. We're going to get her the best cardiac surgeon in the state. And we're going to do it fast." "Tonight?" Suzanne asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Why wait? Every day matters, right?" Michael looked at Lucia. "How are you feeling right now? On a scale of 1 to 10. Lucia thought about it. "Maybe a 3. My chest hurts a lot. It's hard to breathe sometimes." That was all Michael needed to hear. He dialed a number he had in his contacts. Dr. Patricia Chen, the Bulls team doctor and one of the best physicians in Chicago. She had connections everywhere. The phone rang 3 times before a sleepy voice answered. "Hello? Dr. Chen, it's Michael Jordan. I'm sorry to call so late, but I need your help with something urgent." The sleepiness vanished from her voice immediately. "Michael, what's wrong? Are you hurt?" "Not me. It's complicated. I need the name of the best pediatric cardiac surgeon in Chicago. The absolute best. Money is no object." There was a pause. "This is serious. Life or death serious. Okay. Give me 5 minutes, I'll call you back." Michael hung up and looked at Suzanne and Lucia. "We're going to move fast on this. Dr. Chen will give us a name, and I'll have Lucia admitted to the hospital tonight if possible. We need to get her examined properly, get new tests done, and schedule this surgery as soon as it's safe to do it. Suzanne was shaking now, her hands trembling so badly she had to clasp them together. I can't believe this is happening. This morning I woke up thinking I was going to lose her. And now you're not, Michael said simply. Now she's going to get better. Lucia reached out a thin hand toward Michael. He took it gently, careful of how fragile she seemed. Thank you, she whispered. I don't understand why you're doing this, but thank you. You want to know the truth? Michael asked, his voice soft. When I saw you lying here, I thought about my own kids. I thought about how I would feel if Marcus or Jasmine were sick, and I couldn't help them. It would destroy me. No parent should have to go through what your mom has been going through, and no kid should have to wonder if they're going to live to see their next birthday. He squeezed Lucia's hand carefully. Plus, your mom told me something about you. She said you're smart. She said you love to read and learn. You know what this world needs? More smart, strong young women who fight through hard times and come out the other side ready to make a difference. I want to see who you become, Lucia. I want to see what you do with your life when you're healthy and strong. Lucia was crying too hard to speak now. She just nodded, holding tight to Michael's hand. Michael's phone rang. He answered immediately. Dr. Chen? Okay, I have a name for you, Dr. Elizabeth Reeves. She's a pediatric cardiac surgeon at Northwestern Memorial. She's one of the top 5 in the country, maybe top 3. She's expensive. I told you money doesn't matter. Right, I'm gonna call her now, wake her up, and explain the situation. How serious is this patient? Michael looked at Lucia's pale face, her labored breathing. Very serious. The doctors have given her maybe 3 months without surgery. Dr. Chen swore softly. Okay, give me 10 minutes. I'll call Dr. Reeves, explain it's an emergency case, and see if we can get the patient admitted to Northwestern tonight. What's the patient's name? Lucia Alie. She's 13 years old. She has a congenital heart defect that's gotten progressively worse. Has she been under a doctor's care? Michael looked at Rosa, who shook her head sadly. Not regularly. We've been to the emergency room 3 times in the past 6 months when it got really bad, but we couldn't afford follow-up appointments. Michael relayed this information. Dr. Chen sighed. Okay, this is going to move fast once we get it started. Tell the mother to pack a bag for her daughter. She's likely going to be admitted to the hospital tonight and stay there until the surgery, which could be anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks depending on test results. Understood. Thank you, Dr. Chen. Michael, you're a good man. I'll call you back in a few minutes. Michael hung up and turned to Rosa. You heard her. Pack a bag for Lucia. Clothes, anything she wants to bring with her. We're taking her to Northwestern Memorial Hospital tonight. Suzanne looked around the small space, the cot, the plastic bin that held all of their belongings. Everything we have fits in one bag, she said quietly. It won't take long. While Suzanne packed, Michael called his driver. James, I need you to bring the car to an address in South Chicago. Yes, I know it's late. Yes, it's important. I'm sending you the location now. Then he called Vanessa. She answered on the first ring, her voice worried. Michael, where are you? It's almost midnight. I'm okay. I'm safe. But something's come up. Something important. I'll explain everything when I get home. But I'm gonna be late. Don't wait up. Is everything all right? Michael looked at Suzanne, gently folding Lucia's few clothes into a worn backpack. It's going to be, he said. I promise it's going to be all right. After he hung up, Michael noticed that other people in the shelter had gathered nearby, watching with curious and hopeful expressions. An elderly man approached, his eyes kind. Is the little girl going to be okay? He asked. She's going to get surgery, Michael said. She's going to get better. The old man smiled, showing missing teeth. Suzanne's been an angel to all of us here. She shares what little she has. She helps everyone. It's good to see someone helping her for once. A young woman holding a baby came forward. Tell Suzanne we'll watch her spot. When she comes back, everything will be just like she left it. Michael felt his throat tighten again. These people who had nothing were offering to protect the small corner of space that Suzanne and Lucia called home. That was community. That was... Thank you, Michael said to them all. Thank you for taking care of them. His phone rang again. Dr. Chen. Okay, it's all set up. Dr. Reeves is expecting you. She's meeting you at Northwestern Memorial in 45 minutes. She's going to do a preliminary examination tonight, and if Lucia is stable enough, they'll admit her and start running tests first thing in the morning. What about the surgery itself? That depends on what the tests show. Could be as soon as this week, could be 2 weeks out. Dr. Reeves is very thorough. She won't rush, but she understands the urgency and the cost. Dr. Chen hesitated. Michael, are you sure about this? Pediatric cardiac surgery, especially complex cases, can run well over $100,000 when you factor in hospital stays, medications, follow-up care. I'm sure. Okay, I'll have my office coordinate with the hospital about billing. We'll make sure everything goes through your foundation for tax purposes. Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Chen. I owe you one. You don't owe me anything. Just take care of that little girl. Michael hung up and turned to Susan and Lucia. We're all set. My car will be here in about 10 minutes. Dr. Reeves is waiting for us at the hospital. Suzanne finished packing the bag and sat down next to Lucia, taking both of her daughter's hands. Did you hear that, Mija? We're going to the hospital. A real hospital. With real doctors who can help you. Lucia nodded, but Michael could see fear in her eyes along with the hope. What if they run tests and find out it's even worse than we thought? What if I can't be helped? Then we deal with it, Michael said firmly. But we're not giving up before we even try. You've been fighting this for 6 months with almost no help. Now you're going to fight it with the best medical team in Chicago on your side. The odds just got a whole lot better, Lucia. A car horn honked outside. Michael looked out the window and saw his black Mercedes pulling up. James had made good time. That's our ride, Michael said. Are you ready? Suzanne helped Lucia stand up. The girl was unsteady on her feet, leaning heavily on her mother. Michael stepped forward and, without asking, gently scooped Lucia up into his arms. She weighed almost nothing, far less than a 13-year-old should weigh. I've got you, Michael said softly, just hold on. Lucia wrapped her thin arms around his neck. I feel like I'm in a dream, she whispered. Best dream you've ever had, Michael said with a small smile. And when you wake up tomorrow in that hospital bed, it's still going to be real. You're still going to be getting the help you need. As Michael carried Lucia toward the door, Suzanne following with the bag, the other shelter residents gathered around. They reached out to touch Suzanne's hand, to pat Lucia's foot, to whisper prayers and encouragement. God bless you, Rosa. Be strong, little one. We'll be praying for you. Come back and tell us all about it. Michael carried Lucia out into the rain, which had softened to a light drizzle. James jumped out of the driver's seat and opened the back door, his eyes widening as he recognized the girl in Michael's arms. Northwestern Memorial Hospital, Michael said. As fast as you safely can. Yes, sir. Michael gently placed Lucia in the back seat, making sure she was comfortable. Susan slid in beside her daughter, and Michael got in on the other side so Lucia was between them. As the car pulled away from the warehouse, Lucia looked back at the building that had been her home for 3 months. Will we really come back? she asked her mother. Of course, Mija. These people are our friends. When you're better, we'll come back and visit. We'll tell them all about how the doctors fixed your heart. Lucia nodded, then turned to look at Michael. Can I ask you something, Mr. Jordan? Anything. Why do you believe I'm going to get better? The doctors before, they said it was really bad. They said I might not make it even with surgery. Michael looked at this brave, frightened girl who had been living on a cot in a warehouse, while her body slowly failed her. He thought about his own children, about how precious life was, about how random chance determined who got everything and who got nothing. You want to know what I learned playing basketball? Michael asked. I learned that the game isn't over until the final buzzer sounds. I've been down by 20 points in the fourth quarter and still won. I've missed shots that seemed impossible and made shots that seemed easy. You can't predict what's going to happen. You can only show up, do your best, and never, ever give up. He took Lucia's hand. Your game isn't over, Lucia. Not even close. We're just getting started. And this time, you've got the best team on your side. The best doctors, the best hospital, and people who care about you and your mom. So yeah, I believe you're going to get better. Because I've seen miracles happen when people refuse to quit. Lucia smiled, a real smile that lit up her pale face. I won't quit, she promised. I'll fight as hard as I can. I know you will, Michael said. You're Susan's daughter. Fighting is in your blood. The car raced through the Chicago night, carrying them toward Northwestern Memorial Hospital, toward hope, toward a chance at life that seemed impossible just 1 hour ago. Michael looked out the window at the city lights blurring past and thought about how strange life could be. He had followed Suzanne tonight out of simple concern, expecting maybe to find her visiting a sick friend or volunteering somewhere. Instead, he had found a secret life of struggle and sacrifice. He had found a dying girl and her desperate mother. He had found a problem that his money and influence could actually solve. For once, being Michael Jordan meant something more than basketball. It meant saving a life. Suzanne's voice broke into his thoughts. Mr. Jordan, can I ask you something? Of course. What do I tell Lucia when she asks why you're doing this? She's going to want to understand. And honestly, so do I. We're strangers to you. We're nobody special. Why would you care this much? Michael was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to answer. Finally, he said, My father once told me that God gives us blessings not to hoard them, but to share them. He said the measure of a man isn't what he accomplishes for himself, but what he does for others who can't do for themselves. He looked at Rosa. You and Lucia aren't strangers. You've been in my home, caring for my children, making my family happy for 3 years. You matter to us. And even if you didn't, even if I had met you tonight for the first time, it wouldn't change anything. A child is dying, a mother is desperate. And I have the power to help. How could I possibly walk away from that? Suzanne started crying again, but she was smiling through her tears. I don't know how I'll ever thank you. Watch Lucia grow up healthy and strong, Michael said. That's all the thanks I need. As the hospital came into view, a massive building lit up against the dark sky. Lucia squeezed both her mother's hand and Michael's hand. I'm scared, she admitted, but I'm ready. That's my girl, Suzanne whispered, kissing her daughter's forehead. The car pulled up to the emergency entrance. James opened the door, and Michael stepped out first, then helped Susan guide Lucia out of the car. The girl's legs were shaky, but she stood on her own, determined to walk into the hospital under her own power. A woman in a white coat was waiting by the entrance. Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, Michael assumed. She was in her 50s with kind eyes and an air of calm competence. Lucia Lee? She asked gently. Lucia nodded. I'm Dr. Reeves. We've been waiting for you. Let's get you inside and see what we can do about that heart of yours." As they walked through the automatic doors into the bright, clean hospital, Lucia looked back at Michael one more time. "Thank you for seeing us," she said simply. Michael felt his eyes burn with tears. "Thank you for letting me help." And as the medical team surrounded Lucia, guiding her toward examination rooms and tests and the beginning of her journey toward healing, Michael Jordan stood in that hospital lobby and understood something profound. He had won championships, he had broken records, he had achieved fame and fortune beyond most people's dreams. But tonight he had done something that mattered more than all of that combined. Tonight, he had saved a life, and nothing would ever feel quite as important again. Michael sat in the hospital waiting room with Suzanne while doctors examined Lucia. The room was quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional beep of medical equipment down the hall. It was almost 2 in the morning and exhaustion pulled at Michael's body, but his mind wouldn't stop racing. Suzanne sat beside him, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, staring at the door where they had taken Lucia. She hadn't said a word in 20 minutes. "She's in good hands," Michael said softly, breaking the silence. Suzanne nodded but didn't look at him. "I know. It's just, for 6 months, I've been the only one taking care of her, the only one making decisions, the only one responsible. And now I'm sitting here while strangers examine my daughter, and I feel so helpless." "You're not helpless, Rosa. You kept her alive for 6 months with almost no resources. You got her this far. That's not helpless, that's heroic." Suzanne finally turned to look at him, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "Can I tell you something, Mr. Jordan? Something I've never told anyone." "Of course." Susan took a shaky breath. "There were days when I thought about giving up. Days when the exhaustion was so bad I could barely stand. Days when I looked at Lucia getting weaker and weaker, and I thought maybe it would be a mercy to just let her go, to stop fighting a battle I couldn't win." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "What kind of mother thinks that about her own child?" Michael moved closer, his voice firm. "A mother who's been carrying an impossible weight alone. A mother who's been terrified and exhausted beyond what any human should endure. Rosa, having dark thoughts doesn't make you a bad mother. Not acting on them, getting up every day and fighting anyway, that's what makes you a good mother." "But I should have asked for help sooner," Susan said, tears flowing again. "I should have told you or someone. My pride almost cost Lucia her life." "Your pride kept you going when everything else fell apart," Michael countered. "Don't beat yourself up for being strong. But Rosa, I need you to promise me something." "What?" "From now on, if you need help, you ask. No more hiding. No more pretending everything is fine when it's not. My family cares about you. We want to help. But we can't if we don't know what's going on." Suzanne wiped her eyes and nodded. "I promise. No more secrets." The door opened and Dr. Reeves walked out, pulling off her latex gloves. Michael and Suzanne both jumped to their feet. "How is she?" Suzanne asked, her voice tight with fear. Dr. Reeves gestured for them to sit down, and she took a seat across from them. Her expression was serious but not hopeless. "Lucia is stable for now. We've given her some medication to help with her breathing and to reduce the strain on her heart. She's resting comfortably." "But?" Michael asked, sensing there was more. Dr. Reeves pulled out a tablet and showed them images that looked like scans of her heart. "These are preliminary scans we just took. Lucia has what we call a ventricular septal defect, essentially a hole in the wall between the 2 lower chambers of her heart. It's congenital, meaning she was born with it. Small VSDs sometimes close on their own as children grow. Large ones require surgery." "And Lucia's is large?" Suzanne asked. "Very large," Dr. Reeves confirmed. "The hole is causing her heart to work much harder than it should. Oxygen-poor blood is mixing with oxygen-rich blood, which is why she's been experiencing fatigue, shortness of breath, and other symptoms. Over time, this puts enormous strain on her heart and lungs. Suzanne gripped the armrests of her chair. "Can you fix it?" "Yes," Dr. Reeves said, and Suzanne let out a sob of relief. "The surgery itself is well established. We'll go in through her chest, repair the defect with a patch, and close her up. With proper post-operative care, the success rate is very high." "How high?" Michael asked. "For a patient Lucia's age, with no other complications, about 95%. Michael felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. 95%. Those were good odds. Really good odds. But Suzanne was still worried. He could see it in her face. "What about the other 5%? What could go wrong?" Dr. Reeves was gentle but honest. "There are always risks with surgery, especially heart surgery. Infection, blood clots, complications from anesthesia, irregular heartbeat after the repair. But Rosa, I need you to hear me. Lucia's odds are much, much better with surgery than without it. The previous doctors were right. Without this surgery, Lucia has maybe a few months. With it, she has her whole life ahead of her. When can you do it?" Michael asked. "That's where things get complicated," Dr. Reeves said. "Lucia's very weak right now. Malnourished, anemic. Her body is under significant stress. If we operate on her in this condition, her risks increase dramatically. I need to get her stronger first." Suzanne leaned forward. "How long will that take?" "Probably 2 weeks. Maybe 3. We'll keep her here in the hospital, give her proper nutrition, monitor her heart closely, build up her strength. Then, when she's in the best possible condition, we'll schedule the surgery." 2 weeks. Michael could see Suzanne doing the mental calculation. 2 weeks of hospital bills, 2 weeks of not being able to work her other jobs, 2 weeks of uncertainty. "Don't worry about the cost," Michael said quickly, reading her mind. "Everything is covered. The hospital stay, the surgery, the medications, all of it. You just focus on being here for Lucia." Dr. Reeves nodded approvingly. "That's good. Because Rosa, your daughter, is going to need you here. She's scared. She's been through a lot. Having her mother by her side will help her heal faster than any medicine I can give her." "Can I see her?" Suzanne asked. "Of course. We're moving her to a private room right now. Once she's settled, you can stay with her. There's a fold-out chair in the room that turns into a bed. It's not the most comfortable, but it'll be the best bed I've slept in for months," Susan said with a small smile. Dr. Reeves stood up. "I'll have a nurse come get you in a few minutes. Mr. Jordan, can I speak with you privately for just a moment?" Michael looked at Rosa, who nodded. "Go ahead." "I need to call Maria anyway. Let her know what's happening." Michael followed Dr. Reeves down the hallway, away from the waiting room. When they were alone, the doctor turned to him with an expression he couldn't quite read. "That little girl in there," Dr. Reeves said quietly. "She should have been in a hospital 2 months ago, maybe 3. The fact that she's still alive is honestly miraculous. Another few weeks and we might have been too late." Michael felt cold dread wash over him. "Are you saying she almost died?" "I'm saying she's been dying, slowly for months. And her mother has been watching it happen, helpless to stop it." Dr. Reeves paused. "What you did tonight, bringing her here, making sure she gets the care she needs, you saved that girl's life. I want you to understand that." "I just made some phone calls," Michael said, uncomfortable with the praise. "You did more than that. You saw a problem and you fixed it. Most people would have looked the other way. You didn't." Dr. Reeves extended her hand. "It's an honor to work with you, Mr. Jordan, and I promise you, I'm going to take excellent care of Lucia."
Michael shook her hand.
"Thank you, Dr. Reeves. That means everything." As Michael walked back to the waiting room, He passed by the room where they were setting up Lucia. Through the open door he could see the young girl lying in a real hospital bed with clean white sheets and pillows. She looked so small in that big bed, but there was color in her cheeks already from the oxygen they were giving her. Lucia saw him in the doorway and waved weakly. Michael waved back and continued walking, giving her and her mother privacy. He pulled out his phone and called Vanessa again. This time he told her everything about following Rosa, about the warehouse, about Lucia's condition, about bringing them to the hospital. Vanessa was quiet for a long moment after he finished. Then she said, "I'm coming down there. It's 2:30 in the morning. The kid, my sister, is here for the weekend, remember? She can watch them. Michael, Susanna's been part of our family for 3 years. I need to be there." Michael felt a surge of love for his wife. "Okay, I'll be in the main lobby. I'll be there in 20 minutes. While Michael waited, he thought about everything that had happened tonight. 6 hours ago he had been a basketball player heading home after practice. Now he was in a hospital at 3 in the morning, having just agreed to pay for life-saving surgery for his housekeeper's daughter. His life had changed. Or maybe it had just shown him what really mattered. A nurse approached him. "Mr. Jordan? Lucia is asking if you'll come say good night before you leave." Michael followed the nurse to Lucia's room. Susan was already there, sitting in a chair pulled close to the bed, holding her daughter's hand. The room was warm and quiet, with monitors beeping softly in the background. "Hey," Michael said gently, approaching the bed. "How are you feeling?" "Tired," Lucia admitted. "But better. The oxygen helps. And this bed is so soft. I forgot what a real bed felt like." Michael smiled. "Well, you're going to be sleeping in real beds from now on. No more cots in warehouses." Lucia's eyes grew serious. "Mr. Jordan, can I ask you something?" "Sure. My mom said you're paying for everything. The surgery, the hospital, all of it. Is that true?" "It's true. But why? You don't even know me. What if I'm not worth it? What if I get the surgery and I'm just ordinary?" Michael sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to disturb any of the medical equipment. "Lucia, let me tell you something. Every single person is worth saving. You don't have to earn the right to live. You don't have to prove you're special or talented or extraordinary. You're a human being, and that's enough." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "But since you asked, your mum told me about you. She said you're smart. She said you love to read and learn. She said even when you were living in that warehouse and feeling sick, you studied every day because you wanted to have a future. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are." Lucia's eyes filled with tears. "I do want a future. I want to finish school. I want to go to college. I want to do something important with my life, to make my mom proud, to make her sacrifices worth it." "Then you'll do all of that," Michael said firmly. "You'll get this surgery, you'll get strong, and you'll have all the time in the world to become whoever you want to be. Can I tell you what I really want?" Lucia whispered, like she was sharing a secret. "Tell me." "I want to play basketball." Michael blinked in surprise. Of all the things she could have said, he wasn't expecting that. Lucia continued, her voice getting a little stronger. "I know it sounds silly. I've been too sick to play. I've never even been on a real team. But I love basketball, Mr. Jordan. I've watched every game I could find on library computers. I studied your moves. I practiced dribbling with old balls I found, even when I could barely breathe." She looked embarrassed. "Sometimes, when things were really bad, I would close my eyes and imagine I was on a court running and jumping and playing. It helped me get through the scary moments. It gave me something to dream about." Michael felt his chest tighten with emotion. Here was this sick girl, living in a warehouse, facing death, and she spent her time dreaming about playing basketball, his sport, the thing he loved most. "Lucia," Michael said, his voice thick, "I need you to listen to me very carefully. Once you're healed from this surgery, once you're strong and healthy again, you're going to play basketball. I'm going to make absolutely sure of it. That's a promise." Lucia's face lit up like sunshine breaking through clouds. "Really? You mean it? I never say things I don't mean. When you're ready, we'll get you on a team. We'll get you a coach. We'll make sure you have everything you need to play." "Deal." Lucia reached out her hand and Michael shook it carefully. "Deal," she said, her smile wide despite her exhaustion. Suzanne was crying again, but these were happy tears. "Thank you," she mouthed silently to Michael. A soft knock on the door made them all turn. Vanessa stood in the doorway, still in her pajamas with a coat thrown over them, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. "Rosa," Vanessa said, walking into the room with her arms open. "Oh, Rosa, why didn't you tell us?" Susan stood up and walked into Vanessa's embrace, finally letting herself break down completely. The two women held each other, and Vanessa let Susan cry on her shoulder for a long time. "I'm sorry," Susan kept saying. "I'm so sorry I didn't tell you. I was ashamed. I didn't want you to know I failed." "You didn't fail," Vanessa said firmly, pulling back to look Suzanne in the eyes. "You're the strongest woman I know, and from now on you're not alone. We're family, Rosa. Family helps each other." Vanessa turned to look at Lucia in the bed. "And you must be Lucia. I've heard so much about you in the last hour. I'm Vanessa, Michael's wife." "Hi," Lucia said shyly. Vanessa walked over and took Lucia's hand. "My children are going to be so excited to meet you. Marcus and Jasmine have been asking about having a big sister. I think they're going to love you." "Really?" Lucia asked, her eyes wide. "Really, when you're feeling better, you'll come visit us. We'll have dinner together. You can play with the kids. We'll be a family." Lucia looked at her mother, then at Michael and Vanessa, and started crying. But they were good tears, healing tears. "I've never had a big family before," she said. "It's always just been me and Mama." "Well, now you have us," Michael said. "And we're pretty loud and crazy, so I hope you're ready for that." Lucia laughed through her tears. "I think I can handle it." Dr. Reeves appeared in the doorway. "I hate to interrupt, but Lucia needs her rest. She has a big day tomorrow, lots of tests and evaluations." Michael and Vanessa said their goodnights. As they walked toward the elevator, Vanessa took Michael's hand. "I'm proud of you," she said quietly. "What you did tonight was incredible." "I just followed her," Michael said. "If I hadn't been curious, if I hadn't decided to see where she was going." "But you did," Vanessa interrupted. "You paid attention. You cared enough to check. That matters, Michael. That changes everything." In the elevator, alone for a moment, Michael leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. He was exhausted, emotionally drained, but also filled with something he couldn't quite name. Purpose, maybe, or meaning. "Do you think she'll be okay?" he asked Vanessa. "Really okay?" Dr. Reeves seems confident, and Lucia seems like a fighter. With her mother's strength and now all the medical care she needs, I think she has a really good chance. Michael nodded. "She wants to play basketball. Did you hear that? After everything she's been through, she still dreams about playing basketball. Like someone else I know," Vanessa said with a soft smile. "Maybe that's why you connected with her so quickly. You see yourself in her. That determination, that refusal to give up." They walked out to the parking lot where James was waiting with the car. As they drove home through the empty Chicago streets, Michael looked out the window and thought about Lucia's question. What if I'm not worth it? Every person was worth it. Every life mattered. That was the truth Michael had discovered tonight in a warehouse and a hospital room. And tomorrow, he would start making calls. Not just about Lucia's surgery, but about that shelter. About the other families living there. About how he could help more people who were struggling in silence. Because if Susan had taught him anything tonight, it was that there were countless people out there fighting invisible battles. People who showed up to work with smiles on their faces while their worlds fell apart. People who needed help but were too proud or too scared to ask. Michael couldn't save everyone, but he could save some. And tonight, he had saved Lucia. That would have to be enough. For now, Michael didn't sleep that night. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Vanessa slept beside him, her breathing soft and steady. His mind kept replaying everything. Suzanne's tears, Lucia's pale face, the warehouse full of people with nowhere else to go, Dr. Reeves saying, "You saved her life." At 5 in the morning, Michael gave up on sleep. He got out of bed quietly and went to his home office, closing the door behind him. He sat at his desk and turned on the lamp, its warm light pooling across the polished wood surface. Michael pulled out a legal pad and started writing. Not plays for basketball games or endorsement ideas. He was making a different kind of plan now. At the top of the page, he wrote, Lucia Ali, surgery plan. Underneath, he started listing everything that needed to happen. The surgery itself was just the beginning. Lucia would need follow-up care, medications, physical therapy. She would need time to recover, probably months. And during all of that, Suzanne couldn't work multiple jobs. She would need to be with her daughter, which meant Suzanne would need income, and housing, and support. Michael's pen moved faster as ideas came to him. He could set up a trust fund for Lucia's ongoing medical expenses. He could give Suzanne paid leave from her job, not charity but proper family medical leave that she deserved. He could help them find an apartment, something safe and clean where Lucia could recover properly. But even as he wrote these plans, something bothered him. Michael put down his pen and leaned back in his chair thinking, if he did all of this publicly, it would turn into a media circus. Reporters would swarm Suzanne and Lucia. Camera crews would camp outside the hospital. Every detail of their struggle would become entertainment for the masses. Michael had seen it happen before. A celebrity helps someone in need, and suddenly it's not about the person being helped anymore. It becomes about the celebrity's generosity, their image, their brand. That wasn't what Michael wanted. Not for this. Suzanne and Lucia deserved privacy. They deserved dignity. They deserved help that didn't come with cameras and questions and public attention that would turn their lives into a spectacle. Michael made a decision right there in his office at 5:30 in the morning. Everything he did for Suzanne and Lucia would be done quietly, anonymously, if possible. No press releases, no photo opportunities, no using their struggle to make himself look good. This wasn't about him. This was about a mother and daughter who needed help. Michael picked up his phone and scrolled through his contacts until he found David Chen, his personal lawyer. He knew David wouldn't appreciate being called this early, but this couldn't wait. The phone rang 6 times before a groggy voice answered. Michael, it's 5:30 in the morning. Is everything okay? I need your help with something important. Can you meet me at my house in an hour? There was a pause, then David's voice became more alert. Is this a legal emergency? Are you in some kind of trouble? No, nothing like that. I need to set up some financial arrangements for someone. It's complicated. I'll explain everything when you get here. Okay, give me an hour to shower and grab coffee. I'll be there by 7. Michael hung up and made another call, this time to his financial advisor, Patricia Williams. She was an early riser, thankfully, and answered on the 3rd ring. Michael, good morning. What can I do for you? Patricia, I need to move some money around. Today, if possible. And I need it done in a way that maintains privacy for the recipient. How much money are we talking about? Michael thought about everything Lucia would need: the surgery, the hospital stay, recovery care, medications, housing for her, and Rosa living expenses while Suzanne took time off work. He did quick math in his head. Let's start with $200,000. Patricia was quiet for a moment. That's a significant amount. Can I ask what this is for? Medical expenses and living support for someone who works for me. Someone who's been taking care of my family for years and is going through a crisis. Okay, I'll need some details to set this up properly. Tax implications, beneficiary information, that sort of thing. When can we meet? This morning. I'm having my lawyer come over at 7. Can you be here by 8? I'll be there. Michael, just so I understand, you want this kept private? Completely private. No publicity, no announcements. This is between me, my team, and the recipient. That's it. Understood. I'll prepare the paperwork. After Michael hung up, he sat back in his chair and rubbed his eyes. $200,000. It was a lot of money by any standard, but for Michael it was manageable. He made more than that in a single playoff game. And more importantly, it could change Suzanne and Lucia's entire lives. Michael thought about his own childhood, growing up in North Carolina. His family hadn't been rich, but they'd had enough. Enough food, enough warmth, enough security. His parents had made sure he and his siblings never had to worry about survival. They could focus on school, on sports, on being kids. Lucia hadn't had that. She'd spent her childhood worrying about rent and food and whether her body would keep working. No child should have to carry that weight. Michael heard soft footsteps in the hallway. The office door opened, and Vanessa peeked in, still in her pajamas. I thought I heard you get up, she said, walking over to his desk. Couldn't sleep? Too much on my mind. Vanessa looked at the legal pad covered in Michael's handwriting. You're planning something big. I'm making sure Lucia and Suzanne have everything they need, not just for the surgery, but for after, for the long term. Vanessa sat on the edge of the desk, reading his notes. $200,000. Is it too much? Michael asked. No, Vanessa said firmly. It's exactly right. Michael, what you're doing, helping them like this, it's one of the best things you've ever done. I know winning championships feels important, but this, saving a child's life, there's nothing more important than that. Michael took Vanessa's hand. I don't want any publicity about it. No cameras, no news stories. Suzanne has been through enough without becoming a spectacle. I agree, this should be private. Between us and them. David and Patricia are coming over this morning to help me set everything up. I want to make sure it's done right, legally and financially. Vanessa nodded. What about Suzanne's job? Is she going to be able to take time off to be with Lucia? That's part of what I want to discuss with David. I'm thinking we give her paid family medical leave, however long she needs. When Lucia is better and Suzanne is ready to come back, her position will be waiting for her. And if she doesn't want to come back? Vanessa asked gently. If she wants to do something different. Michael hadn't thought about that. Then we help her do whatever she wants. The important thing is that she has choices. Real choices, not just desperation. The house started waking up around them. Michael could hear Marcus and Jasmine stirring in their rooms, their small feet padding down the hallway. Vanessa stood up. I should get breakfast started. The kids will want to know where you were last night. What should I tell them? The truth, Michael said, that Miss Suzanne's daughter is sick, and we're helping her get better. They're old enough to understand. Vanessa kissed the top of his head. They'll want to help too. You know how they are. After Vanessa left, Michael made one more phone call. This one to Dr. Reeves at the hospital. Dr. Reeves? It's Michael Jordan. I hope I'm not calling too early. Not at all. I've been here since 6 checking on patients. How can I help you? I wanted to check on Lucia. How was her first night? She slept well. Better than she has in months, according to Rosa. We've got her on oxygen and heart medication, and we'll start the nutritional support this morning. She's already looking a bit better than she did last night. Relief washed over Michael. That's good to hear. Dr. Reeves, I want to make sure that Suzanne has everything she needs while she's there. A comfortable place to sleep, food, whatever she needs. Can you make sure the staff knows that? Of course, and Michael? Suzanne told me this morning that she's been praying for a miracle for 6 months. She said you're the answer to those prayers. Michael felt his throat tighten. I just made some phone calls. You're the one who's going to save Lucia's life. We're all playing our part, Dr. Reeves said gently. You brought her to me. I'll fix her heart. Suzanne will help her recover. It takes all of us. After hanging up, Michael looked at his legal pad again. His neat lists and plans suddenly seemed inadequate. How do you plan for saving someone's life? How do you write down hope? At 7 o'clock sharp, David Chen arrived with his briefcase and a large coffee. Michael led him to the office and explained everything: the warehouse, Lucia's condition, his plan to help them anonymously. David listened carefully, taking notes. When Michael finished, David set down his pen and looked at him seriously. Michael, I need to play devil's advocate here for a minute. Not because I don't think this is a good thing you're doing, but because it's my job to protect you legally. Okay, $200,000 is a significant gift. There are tax implications, potential legal complications if this isn't structured properly. And there's always the risk that word gets out, and suddenly you have hundreds of people asking for similar help. How do you say no to them without seeming heartless? Michael had thought about this. That's why we keep it private. As private as possible. And as for the tax implications, I don't care. Structure it however it needs to be structured. I'll pay whatever taxes I need to pay. What about setting this up through your foundation? That would give you better tax treatment and provide some legal protection. Can we do that and still keep it anonymous? David nodded. We can have the foundation pay the hospital directly for Lucia's care. We can set up a trust for Susan's living expenses and make it come from the foundation rather than from you personally. That way, if anyone asks questions, it's a legitimate charitable donation from an established organization. Do it. Whatever paperwork you need me to sign, prepare it. Patricia Williams arrived at 8 o'clock, and the three of them spent the next 2 hours working through the details. They established a medical trust for Lucia that would cover not just her surgery, but all follow-up care for the next 5 years. They set up a separate trust for Susan's living expenses, rent, food, utilities, everything she would need while she took time off to care for her daughter. Michael also had them create something else, an education fund for Lucia. Whatever she wanted to study, wherever she wanted to go to college, the money would be there waiting for her. You're thinking long-term, Patricia observed. Most people just handle the immediate crisis. Lucia told me she wants to go to college. She wants to make something of her life. I want to make sure money never stands in her way. By 10 o'clock the paperwork was done. Michael signed document after document, his hand cramping by the end. But with each signature, he felt lighter. This was really happening. Lucia would get her surgery. Suzanne would have support. They would have a real chance at a better life. After David and Patricia left, Michael sat alone in his office for a few minutes, processing everything. In the space of 12 hours, his life had completely changed direction. Yesterday, his biggest concern had been winning basketball games. Today, he was thinking about medical trusts and education funds, and how to help a family rebuild their lives. A soft knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. Marcus peeked in. his 8-year-old face serious. "Dad, Mom said Miss Susan's daughter is really sick. Is she going to die?" Michael's heart clenched. He'd been so focused on the logistics of helping that he hadn't thought about how this would affect his own children. "Come here, buddy," Michael said, patting his lap. Marcus climbed up, and Jasmine appeared in the doorway a moment later, not wanting to be left out. Michael pulled her up too, both kids sitting on his knees. "Miss Suzanne has a daughter named Lucia," Michael explained. "She's 13 years old, and she has a problem with her heart. But there are really good doctors who can fix it. She's in the hospital right now getting the help she needs." "Why didn't Miss Suzanne tell us about her?" Jasmine asked. "We didn't know she had a daughter. Sometimes grown-ups keep secrets because they're scared or embarrassed," Michael said carefully. "Miss Susan was going through a really hard time, and she didn't want anyone to know. But now we know, and we're going to help her." "How can we help?" Marcus asked. "Can we visit Lucia in the hospital? Maybe in a few days when she's feeling a bit stronger. But you know what you can do right now? You can make her a card, draw her some pictures, let her know that you're thinking about her." Both kids brightened at having a concrete task. They scrambled off Michael's lap and ran to get their art supplies, already planning what they would draw. Vanessa appeared in the doorway, smiling. "You're good with them. I just told them the truth. Kids can handle more than we think. They're lucky to have you as their father," Vanessa said softly. "You're showing them what it means to care about other people, to use what you have to help those who need it. That's a lesson that's worth more than any basketball trophy." Michael looked at his wife, at the life they'd built together, at their healthy children making cards for a sick girl they'd never met. He thought about Suzanne living in a warehouse, watching her daughter slowly die because she couldn't afford medical care. He thought about how random it all was, who had everything, and who had nothing. "I want to do more," Michael said suddenly. "Not just for Suzanne and Lucia, but for other people too. That shelter where they were staying, it's full of families who need help. Kids are going through what Lucia went through. What if we could help them too?" Vanessa sat down beside him. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. I have influence, connections, resources. What if I used all of that to actually make a difference? Not just signing autographs and doing photo ops, but real help for real people." "Your foundation already does good work," Vanessa pointed out. "Not enough. Not nearly enough. What if we expanded it? What if we focus specifically on helping homeless families, medical care, housing assistance, job training, education support? What if we turned that warehouse into a proper community center?" Vanessa's eyes lit up. "Michael, that's a wonderful idea, but it's also a huge commitment. Are you sure you're ready for that?" "I've never been more sure of anything," Michael said. "Basketball is what I do, but this helping people like Suzanne and Lucia, this could be who I am." They sat together in the quiet office, both of them thinking about how one night of following a housekeeper through the rain had led them here, to this moment, to this decision that would change, not just one life, but potentially hundreds. "So we do it," Vanessa said simply. "We help Suzanne and Lucia. We improve that shelter. We find other families who need assistance. We use everything we have to make the world a little bit better. We do it quietly," Michael added. "No press conferences, no publicity stunts. We just do the work." "Agreed." Michael pulled Vanessa close, holding her tight. "Thank you," he whispered, "for supporting this, for understanding why it matters." "Of course I understand," Vanessa said. "This is love in action, Michael. This is what we're supposed to do with our blessings." Later that afternoon, Michael drove back to the hospital. He brought Marcus and Jasmine with him, along with the cards they'd made. The kids had drawn basketball hoops and hearts and flowers, writing messages like "Get better soon" and we can't wait to meet you." When they arrived at Lucia's room, Susan was sitting beside the bed reading to her daughter from a library book. Lucia looked better than she had the night before, more color in her cheeks, less strain in her breathing. "Mr. Jordan," Lucia said, her face lighting up. "You came back." "Of course I came back, and I brought some friends." He gestured to Marcus and Jasmine, who were hiding shyly behind his legs. The kids peeked out, and Jasmine held up her card. "We made these for you. We hope you liked them." Lucia's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the colorful drawings. "These are the most beautiful cards I've ever seen. Thank you so much." Marcus stepped forward bravely. "Are you really going to get better?" "Dad said the doctors can fix your heart." "That's what they tell me," Lucia said with a small smile. "I'm going to have surgery in a couple of weeks. It's scary, but I'm trying to be brave." "You're the bravest person I know," Marcus said seriously. "Dad told us you lived in a warehouse and you were sick, but you never gave up. That's really brave." Michael watched his children interact with Lucia, saw the way they accepted her immediately without judgment or pity. Just genuine kindness and curiosity. This was what he wanted to teach them, that people's circumstances didn't define their worth, that everyone deserved compassion and help. Suzanne stood up and hugged Michael. "Thank you for bringing them. Lucia has been talking about meeting your children since she woke up this morning. They've been excited to meet her too," Michael said. While the kids chatted with Lucia, Michael pulled Susan aside into the hallway. "I had my lawyer and financial advisor come over this morning. We've set some things up. The foundation is paying for all of Lucia's medical care, surgery, hospital stay, follow-up appointments, medications." Suzanne started to speak, but Michael held up his hand. "There's more. We've also set up a trust to cover your living expenses for the next year. Rent, food, utilities, whatever you need. You're going to take paid family medical leave so you can be here for Lucia without worrying about money." "Mr. Jordan, that's too much." "It's not enough," Michael interrupted gently. "Rosa, you've given 3 years of your life to my family. You've cared for my children, managed my home, brought joy into our lives. This isn't charity. This is me taking care of someone who has taken care of us." Suzanne wiped tears from her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you. Watch your daughter grow up healthy and strong. That's all the thanks I need." Michael paused, then added, "There's one more thing. I've also set up an education fund for Lucia. Whatever she wants to study, wherever she wants to go to college, the money will be there. She told me she wants to learn, wants to have a future. I'm making sure she gets that chance." Suzanne broke down completely then, and Michael held her while she cried. These were different tears than the night before. These were tears of relief, of gratitude, of hope finally replacing despair. When Suzanne composed herself, Michael said quietly, "I need you to know something. I'm doing all of this privately. No press releases, no publicity. This is between us. I don't want cameras following you and Lucia around, turning your story into entertainment." "Thank you," Suzanne whispered. "Thank you for protecting us." They walked back into the room together. Lucia was laughing at something Jasmine had said, her face more animated than Michael had seen it yet. Marcus was showing her a basketball move with an imaginary ball, and she was trying to copy him from her bed. "When I get better," Lucia said, "will you teach me to play for real?" "For real," Marcus promised. "Dad says he's going to make sure you get on a team and everything." Lucia looked at Michael, her eyes shining. "You remembered? I told you I never say things I don't mean. When you're healthy, we're getting you on a basketball court." As Michael watched his children play with Lucia, he realized something profound. This wasn't just about saving one girl's life. It was about showing his own children what really mattered. teaching them that success meant nothing if you didn't use it to help others, that having everything meant you had a responsibility to those who had nothing. Later, as they were leaving, Lucia called out to Michael one more time. "Mr. Jordan? Wait." He turned back. Lucia looked at him seriously, wise beyond her 13 years. "I know what you're doing for us is expensive. I know it's a lot. So I promise you, I'm going to make it count. I'm going to get better, and I'm going to do something important with my life. I'm going to help other people the way you're helping me. I promise." Michael felt his chest tighten with emotion. "Lucia, you don't owe me anything. You don't have to earn this. Just live. Just be happy." "That's enough." "But I want to," Lucia insisted. "I want my life to matter. I want to make a difference." "You already do," Michael said softly. "You've already made a difference to me and my family, more than you know." As Michael drove his children home that evening, he thought about Lucia's promise. She wanted her life to matter. She wanted to help others. Michael understood that feeling. He'd spent years trying to matter, trying to prove himself on basketball courts in front of thousands of people. But tonight, sitting in his car with his children chattering about their new friend Lucia, he realized something. The moments that truly mattered weren't the ones in front of cameras. They were the quiet moments, following a worried housekeeper through the rain, sitting beside a sick girl's hospital bed, watching 3 children laugh together despite their different circumstances. These were the moments that changed lives. These were the moments that made everything worthwhile. And Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player in the world, was just beginning to understand what it really meant to win. 2 weeks passed in a blur of hospital visits, doctor consultations and careful preparation. Michael found himself at Northwestern Memorial almost every day, sometimes with Vanessa and the kids, sometimes alone. He would sit with Susan and Lucia talking about everything and nothing, basketball stories, childhood memories, dreams for the future. Lucia grew stronger during those 2 weeks. The proper nutrition, the medications, the oxygen support, all of it helped her body prepare for what was coming. Color returned to her cheeks. Her breathing became easier. She could sit up in bed without getting dizzy, could walk to the bathroom without needing to rest halfway there. Dr. Reeves ran test after test, making sure Lucia's body was ready for surgery. Each test showed improvement. Each day brought them closer to the operation that would either save Lucia's life or end it. Nobody talked about that second possibility, but they all thought about it. Michael could see the fear in Suzanne's eyes every time Dr. Reeves came into the room. He could hear it in Lucia's voice when she asked questions about what would happen during the surgery. The surgery was scheduled for Friday morning at 7 o'clock. On Thursday evening, Michael visited the hospital one last time before the operation. He found Suzanne sitting alone in the hallway outside Lucia's room, her head in her hands. "Hey," Michael said softly, sitting down beside her. "Where's Lucia?" "Getting her final pre-surgery exam. They asked me to wait outside." Suzanne looked at him with exhausted eyes. "Mr. Jordan, I'm terrified. What if something goes wrong? What if she doesn't make it through the surgery? What if I lose her?" Michael took Susan's hand. "Dr. Reeves said Lucia has a 95% chance of success. Those are really good odds, Rosa. But what about the 5%? What if Lucia is in that 5%? I've already lost so much in my life, my country, my family back home, any sense of security. I can't lose her too. She's all I have." "You're not going to lose her," Michael said firmly, even though he knew he couldn't really promise that. Nobody could. Lucia is strong, she's a fighter. She's going to make it through this surgery, and then she's going to have a whole life ahead of her. Susan wiped her eyes. "I keep thinking about all the time we wasted. The months we spent in that warehouse when she was getting sicker. If I had asked for help sooner. If I hadn't been so proud. Stop, Michael interrupted gently. You did the best you could with what you had. You kept Lucia alive for 6 months with almost no resources. That's not failure, Rosa. That's love. That's courage. And tomorrow, when Lucia wakes up from surgery with a fixed heart, she's going to look at you and know that her mother never gave up on her. The door to Lucia's room opened, and a nurse came out. You can go back in now, Mrs. Ali. She's all ready for tomorrow. Suzanne stood up, then turned back to Michael. Will you be here tomorrow, during the surgery? Wild horses couldn't keep me away, Michael promised. Inside the room, Lucia was sitting up in bed, wearing a hospital gown. She looked small and vulnerable, but her eyes were clear and determined. "Hi, Mr. Jordan," she said with a smile. "Did you come to say good night?" "I came to say good luck. And to give you something." Michael pulled a small box from his pocket. "This is for you." Lucia opened the box carefully. Inside was a simple silver bracelet with a small basketball charm hanging from it. "It's beautiful," Lucia breathed. "Look at the basketball," Michael said. "There's an inscription." Lucia held the charm up to the light and read the tiny engraved words, "Never give up." Tears filled her eyes. "I can wear this during surgery. The nurses said it's okay as long as we tape it down so it doesn't get in the way. I want you to have it with you tomorrow. When you're scared or unsure, I want you to remember that you're a fighter. You've been fighting your whole life, and tomorrow is just one more battle. And you're going to win." Lucia slipped the bracelet onto her wrist, admiring how it caught the light. "Thank you, I'll keep it forever." "When you're all healed up," Michael said, "we'll add more charms to it. A charm for your first basketball game. A charm for graduating high school. A charm for college. We'll fill it up with memories of all the amazing things you're going to do with your life." "You really believe I'm going to be okay?" Lucia asked quietly. "I really believe you're going to be better than okay. I believe you're going to be extraordinary." Susan started crying again. She'd been doing that a lot lately. Lucia reached out and took her mother's hand. "Don't cry, Mama. I'm going to be fine. Mr. Jordan says so, and he's always right about everything." Michael laughed. "I'm not always right. Just ask my wife. But about this? Yeah, I'm right. You're going to come through that surgery tomorrow, and we're all going to celebrate." As Michael left the hospital that night, he felt the weight of what was coming. 6 hours of surgery, 6 hours of waiting and hoping and praying. 6 hours when Lucia's life would hang in the balance. Michael went home and couldn't eat dinner. He tried to watch television with Vanessa, but couldn't focus. Finally, he went to his home gym and shot baskets for 2 hours, trying to quiet his mind. "You're worried about her," Vanessa said, appearing in the doorway around midnight. "What if she doesn't make it?" Michael asked, his voice raw. "What if I got her hopes up? Got Susan's hopes up, and then she dies on that operating table? How do I live with that?" "Michael, you gave her a chance. Without you, she would have died in that warehouse. At least now she has a fighting chance. That's because of you." "But what if it's not enough?" Vanessa walked over and wrapped her arms around him. "Then we'll be there for Rosa. We'll help her through it. We'll grieve together. But Michael, you can't carry that weight before it happens. Right now, Lucia is alive. She has hope. She has the best surgeon in Chicago. Focus on that." Michael barely slept that night. At 5 in the morning, he gave up and got dressed. Vanessa joined him, and together they drove to the hospital through the dark, empty streets. They found Suzanne in the pre-surgery waiting area, clutching a rosary in her hands and praying quietly. Lucia had already been taken back to be prepared for surgery. "You came," Suzanne said, fresh tears appearing when she saw them. "Of course we came," Vanessa said, hugging her tightly. "We're family." Dr. Reeves appeared in her surgical scrubs. her hair tucked under a cap. "Rosa, I wanted to talk to you before we start. Lucia is being prepped right now. We'll begin the surgery at 7 o'clock sharp. It will take approximately 6 hours, maybe a bit longer, depending on what we find when we open her up." 6 hours, Suzanne repeated numbly. "I'll have someone come out every couple of hours to update you on how things are going. But I need you to understand, once we start, we're committed. There's no turning back. Are you ready for this?" Susan looked at Michael and Vanessa, then back at Dr. Reeves. "I'm ready. Save my daughter, doctor. Please. I'm going to do everything in my power to fix Lucia's heart and send her back to you healthy. She's a brave girl, Rosa. She told me this morning that she wasn't scared because she had hate in me and faith in God. That kind of courage goes a long way." Dr. Reeves left to scrub in, and the waiting began. Michael had waited through many things in his life. He'd waited through timeouts in crucial playoff games. He'd waited through contract negotiations that would determine his future. He'd waited through the birth of his children. But this was different. This was waiting while someone he cared about had their chest cut open, their heart exposed, their life hanging by a thread. The waiting room slowly filled with other people, families waiting for their loved ones, all of them wearing the same expression of fear and hope mixed together. Suzanne couldn't sit still. She paced back and forth, her rosary beads clicking in her hands as she prayed. Michael understood the need to move, to do something, anything to feel less helpless. At 9 o'clock, a nurse came out. "Mrs. Ali, Dr. Reeves asked me to tell you that the surgery is going well. They've opened Lucia's chest and have begun working on her heart. Everything looks good so far." Suzanne nodded, unable to speak. The nurse left, and Suzanne collapsed into a chair, shaking. "She's okay," Vanessa said soothingly. "She's doing okay." 2 more hours passed. Michael got coffee that tasted like cardboard. Vanessa tried to get Susan to eat a muffin, but Susan couldn't swallow anything. They all just sat there, trapped in this horrible space between before and after, between sick and healthy, between life and death. At 11:30, the nurse returned. "Mrs. Ali, the surgery is going very well. Dr. Reeves has repaired the defect in Lucia's heart. Now they're just finishing up closing the repair, making sure everything looks good, preparing to close her chest. We're probably about 90 minutes from being done." This time, Suzanne did cry, but they were tears of relief. "She's going to make it? She's really going to make it? It's looking very good," the nurse said with a warm smile. "Your daughter is very strong." Michael felt like he could breathe for the first time in hours. 90 more minutes. Just 90 more minutes, and they would know for sure. Those 90 minutes felt longer than all the hours before them. Michael watched the clock on the wall tick forward with agonizing slowness. 12 o'clock, 12:15, 12:30. At 1 o'clock, Dr. Reeves finally emerged from the surgical wing. She was pulling off her surgical cap, and there was a tired smile on her face. Suzanne jumped to her feet. "Doctor?" "The surgery was a complete success," Dr. Reeves said, and Susan let out a sound that was half sob, half laugh. "We repaired the defect in Lucia's heart. The patch is in place, and her heart is beating strong and steady. She tolerated the surgery beautifully, no complications, no unexpected problems. Everything went exactly as we hoped it would." Suzanne actually collapsed. Michael caught her before she hit the floor, holding her up while she cried harder than he'd ever seen anyone cry. "She's okay?" Susan kept asking. "She's really okay. She's more than okay. Lucia is going to recover from this surgery and live a completely normal, healthy life. She'll be able to run, play basketball, do everything a normal teenager does. Her heart is fixed. Rosa, your daughter is going to be fine." Michael felt tears streaming down his own face. Vanessa was crying too. hugging Suzanne from the other side. "When can I see her?" Suzanne asked. "She's in recovery right now. She'll be there for a few hours while we monitor her closely. Once she's stable and starting to wake up, we'll bring you back. Probably around 4 or 5 o'clock." Dr. Reeves put her hand on Suzanne's shoulder. "Your daughter is a fighter, Mrs. Ali. She came through that surgery like a champion. You should be very proud of her." "Can I tell her something?" Suzanne asked. "When she wakes up, can you tell her that her mama loves her more than anything in the world?" "I'll tell her myself," Dr. Reeves promised. "But you'll be able to tell her too very soon." After Dr. Reeves left, the three of them stood in the waiting room, holding each other and crying tears of joy and relief. Other families in the waiting room smiled at them, understanding what this moment meant. "She did it," Suzanne kept saying. "My baby did it. She survived." "She's going to do more than survive," Michael said. "She's going to thrive. She's going to have the life she always deserved." They waited 3 more hours until a nurse came to get Rosa. "You can see Lucia now. She's awake and asking for you." Suzanne practically ran down the hallway. Michael and Vanessa followed more slowly, giving mother and daughter a moment alone first. Through the window of the recovery room, Michael could see Susan leaning over Lucia's bed, kissing her daughter's forehead over and over while tears streamed down her face. Lucia was pale and had tubes and wires connected to her, but her eyes were open and she was smiling. The bracelet Michael had given her was still on her wrist, the basketball charm glinting in the fluorescent light. Michael watched this reunion, this moment of pure love and relief and hope, and he understood something fundamental about himself. Basketball had given him everything: fame, money, success, glory. But this moment, watching a mother hold her daughter who had been saved from death, this was worth more than every championship ring he'd ever won. This was what it meant to truly matter. This was what it meant to make a real difference in the world. And Michael Jordan, standing in that hospital hallway with tears on his face, knew that his life had just changed forever. He would still play basketball. He would still win games and break records. But from now on, he would also do this: help people who needed it, use his resources to save lives, pay attention to the Suzanne Alias and Lucia Alias of the world, who suffered in silence. Because in the end, that was the only thing that really mattered. Not the points he scored or the trophies he won, but the lives he touched, the people he helped, the difference he made when nobody was watching. Vanessa took his hand. "You did this," she whispered. "You saved her life." "No, Michael said quietly, watching Suzanne and Lucia through the window. "We all saved each other." 3 days after the surgery, Lucia was moved from the intensive care unit to a regular recovery room. The doctors were amazed at how quickly she was healing. Her heart was beating strong and steady. The color had returned to her face. She could sit up in bed without pain, could breathe deeply without struggling. "She's remarkable," Dr. Reeves told Michael and Suzanne during morning rounds. "Most patients her age take longer to bounce back from this type of surgery, but Lucia is ahead of schedule on everything. If she keeps progressing like this, we might be able to send her home in a week instead of 2. Suzanne's face clouded at the word home. Michael noticed immediately. After Dr. Reeves left, Michael pulled Susan aside in the hallway. "What's wrong? You should be happy that Lucia's doing so well." Susan twisted her hands together nervously. "I am happy, so happy. But Mr. Jordan, when Dr. Reeves said home, I realized we don't have a home to go to. The warehouse shelter is no place for Lucia to recover from heart surgery. She needs somewhere clean and quiet and safe. Rosa, I told you, the trust we set up covers housing. We're going to find you and Lucia a proper apartment. Somewhere comfortable where Lucia can rest and get strong. But that will take time, won't it? Finding an apartment, getting approved, moving in. Lucia might be discharged before we have somewhere to go. Michael had actually already been working on this problem. 2 days ago he'd had Patricia Williams start looking for apartments in safe neighborhoods with good schools nearby. But he hadn't wanted to tell Suzanne until everything was finalized. "Don't worry about it," Michael said. "I've got people handling it. By the time Lucia is ready to leave the hospital, you'll have somewhere good to go. I promise." Suzanne hugged him suddenly, catching him off guard. "I don't know how I'll ever repay your kindness." "You don't have to repay kindness, Rosa. You just pass it forward when you can." Later that afternoon, Michael was sitting with Lucia while Suzanne went to the cafeteria to get lunch. Lucia was reading a book that Jasmine had brought her, something about a girl who could talk to animals. She looked so much healthier than she had just a week ago. The grayish tint to her skin was gone, replaced by a healthy glow. "Mr. Jordan," Lucia said, putting down her book, "can I ask you something personal?" "Sure. Why did you really help us?" "I mean, I'm grateful, so grateful I could never put it into words. But I still don't completely understand. You're famous. You're rich. You could help anyone. Why us?" Michael thought carefully about how to answer. He wanted to be honest with her. "You want the truth?" he asked. Lucia nodded. "I followed your mom that night because I was worried about her. She'd been looking so tired and sad lately, and when I saw her leaving late at night, I just wanted to make sure she was safe. I didn't know about you. I didn't know about the warehouse. I was just being nosy, I guess." Lucia smiled slightly. "But when I saw you on that cot, when I heard you ask your mom if you were going to die..." Michael's voice caught. "I have 2 children. They're younger than you, but not by much. And I thought about how I would feel if it were Marcus or Jasmine lying there sick, and I couldn't help them. It would destroy me." He looked at Lucia seriously. "Every child deserves a chance at life. Every mother deserves to see her child grow up. You and your mom, you deserved help, and I had the ability to give it. How could I not?" Lucia was quiet for a moment. "My mom told me that she prayed for a miracle every single night. She said you're the answer to her prayers." "I'm not a miracle," Michael said. "I'm just a guy who happened to be in the right place at the right time." "But you chose to help," Lucia said. "That's what makes you special. You could have just driven past that warehouse. You could have pretended you didn't see anything, but you didn't. You stopped. You cared. You did something." She reached out and touched the basketball charm on her bracelet. "This says, never give up. I think that's your real message to me. Not just about basketball or about my surgery, but about life. Never give up on being a good person. Never give up on helping others when you can." Michael felt his throat tighten with emotion. This 13-year-old girl who had been through more hardship than most adults understood something profound that many people never learned. "You're pretty wise, you know that," he said. Lucia grinned. "I had a lot of time to think while I was lying on that cot in the warehouse. When you can't run around and play like other kids, you spend a lot of time in your own head. Well, now you're going to be able to run around and play. What's the first thing you want to do when you're all healed up? Besides basketball?" Lucia thought about it. "I want to go back to school. I miss learning. I miss being around other kids my age. I want to feel normal again." "You'll go back to school," Michael promised. "And you know what? You're going to do amazing things there. Your mom told me you're really smart. I like reading and math. Science too. I used to think maybe I'd want to be a doctor someday. But after everything I've been through," she gestured at the hospital room around them, "now I know for sure. I want to be a heart surgeon like Dr. Reeves. I want to help kids like me." Michael smiled. "That's a perfect goal. And with the education fund we set up for you, you can study whatever you want, wherever you want." Lucia's eyes went wide. "Education fund? What do you mean?" Michael realized Suzanne hadn't told Lucia about all the arrangements they'd made. Your mom didn't mention it. We set up a fund to pay for your college. Whatever school you get into, whatever you want to study, the money will be there. Lucia stared at him in shock. You're paying for my college? That's years away. That's so much money. It's an investment, Michael said. An investment in a smart, determined young woman who's going to do great things with her life. I believe in you, Lucia. I want to make sure nothing stands in your way. Tears streamed down Lucia's face. I don't deserve this. I'm nobody special. I'm just... Stop right there, Michael interrupted firmly. You are special. You're incredibly special. And you do deserve this. Every child deserves the chance to pursue their dreams. You just happened to get unlucky for a while. Now your luck is changing. Lucia wiped her eyes. I'm going to make you proud, Mr. Jordan. I promise. I'm going to work so hard. I'm going to get good grades and get into a great college and become a doctor and help other kids. I'm going to make your investment worth it. You already have, Michael said softly. Just by surviving. Just by never giving up hope. You've already made it worth it. The door opened and Susan came back carrying a tray from the cafeteria. She stopped when she saw Lucia crying. What's wrong? Are you in pain? Should I get the nurse? I'm fine, Mama, Lucia said, smiling through her tears. Mr. Jordan just told me about the college fund. Did you know about this? Suzanne nodded. He told me a few days ago. I wanted to tell you, but I thought you should focus on recovering first. Lucia shook her head in wonder. How did we get so lucky? How did we go from living in a warehouse and thinking I was going to die, to this, to having everything we need and more? God sent us an angel, Suzanne said simply, looking at Michael. An angel who followed me through the rain one night. Michael felt embarrassed by the praise. I'm not an angel, I'm just someone who saved my daughter's life, Suzanne interrupted. Who gave us hope when we had none. Who showed us that good people still exist in this world. If that's not an angel, I don't know what is. A soft knock on the door interrupted them. A nurse poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt. Mrs. Ali, there's someone here to see you. She says her name is Maria. From the shelter. Suzanne's face lit up. Maria. Yes, please send her in. A moment later, a woman in her 50s entered the room. She was short and round with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a bun. When she saw Lucia sitting up in bed, looking healthy, she burst into tears. Misha, Maria exclaimed, rushing to Lucia's bedside. Look at you. You have color in your cheeks. You're sitting up. Oh, thank God, thank God. Hi, Maria, Lucia said, hugging the woman. I'm okay. The surgery worked. They fixed my heart. Maria held Lucia's face in her hands, examining her closely. You look like a completely different girl. When your mother told me you were having surgery, I was so scared. But look at you now. It's a miracle. She turned to Rosa. Everyone at the shelter has been praying for Lucia. Morning, noon and night. We all wanted to visit, but we didn't want to overwhelm you. Thank you for the prayers, Suzanne said. They were. Maria noticed Michael standing quietly in the corner. Her eyes widened. You're Michael Jordan, the basketball player. That's me, Michael said with a small smile. Maria looked between Michael, Rosa and Lucia, putting pieces together. You're the one who helped them. The one who paid for the surgery. I just made some phone calls, Michael said modestly. Maria walked over to him and took both of his hands in hers. Young man, do you know what you've done? This woman and her daughter, they are the heart of our shelter. Suzanne helps everyone, even when she has nothing herself. She shares her food, comforts crying children, stays up with the sick. She's an angel to all of us. Maria's voice grew thick with emotion. We've been so worried about them. Watching Lucia get sicker. Watching Suzanne work herself to exhaustion trying to save her. We felt so helpless we prayed, but we didn't know if prayers would be enough. She squeezed Michael's hands. You answered our prayers. You saved our Lucia, and you saved Suzanne too, because if that girl had died, Suzanne would have died inside. You saved them both. Michael didn't know what to say. He'd never thought of himself as answering anyone's prayers. He'd just seen people who needed help and helped them. How are things at the shelter? Suzanne asked Maria, changing the subject before Michael could get more uncomfortable. Is everyone okay? Everyone is fine. We're managing. But we miss you, both of you. It's not the same without Suzanne singing her songs and Lucia reading stories to the little ones. I used to read to the kids. Michael asked Lucia. Lucia nodded. There are 3 families at the shelter with young children. 5 kids total. They get scared at night in that big warehouse. So I would read them bedtime stories to help them fall asleep. Just books from the library, but they liked it. Michael pictured Lucia, sick and weak herself, taking the time to comfort frightened children. The image made his chest ache. You're going to be able to do that again, Maria said to Lucia. When you're all better, you come visit us. The children keep asking about you. Little Tommy, he's 6 years old. He made you a drawing. I brought it with me. Maria pulled a crumpled piece of paper from her purse. It was a child's drawing of a girl with a big smile and a heart on her chest. Above it, in messy letters, were the words, "Get well, Lucia. I love." Lucia held the drawing carefully, tears forming in her eyes again. Tell Tommy I love him too. And tell all the kids I'll come visit as soon as the doctors say I can. After Maria left, promising to come back soon with more drawings from the children, Suzanne sat down heavily in the chair beside Lucia's bed. Mr. Jordan, there's something I need to tell you. Something I've been thinking about a lot. What is it? Suzanne took a deep breath. When Lucia is fully recovered, I don't want to come back to work for you as your housekeeper. Michael felt a flash of surprise, but he kept his face neutral. Okay, can I ask why? Because I want to do something different with my life. Something more meaningful. You've given me a second chance, given both of us a second chance. I don't want to waste it. Suzanne looked at her daughter, then back at Michael. I want to work with homeless families. I want to help people like the ones at the shelter. I know what it's like to have nothing, to be desperate, to feel invisible. I want to make sure other people don't feel invisible anymore. Michael felt a smile spreading across his face. Rosa, that's a wonderful idea. What exactly did you have in mind? I don't know yet. Maybe I could work at a real shelter, one that's official and safe. Or maybe I could start a program to help homeless families find housing and jobs. I just know I want to help. I have to help. After everything you've done for us, I need to pass that kindness forward. Like you said. What if I told you, I've been thinking about the same thing? Michael said. What if I told you I want to turn that warehouse into a proper community center? A place that provides shelter, medical care, job training, childcare, everything homeless families need to get back on their feet. Suzanne's eyes widened. You would do that? I'm already working on it. I've had my people looking into buying the building and renovating it. But I'm going to need someone to run it. Someone who understands what these families are going through. Someone they trust. He looked at Suzanne meaningfully. I can't think of anyone better for that job than you. Suzanne put her hand over her mouth, overwhelmed. You want me to run a community center? I want you to build something that matters. Use your experience, your compassion, your understanding of what people need. Help me create something that will change lives. But I don't have experience running anything. I'm just a housekeeper. You're not just anything, Michael said firmly. You kept yourself and your daughter alive for months with almost nothing. You helped everyone at that shelter even when you were struggling yourself. You have more leadership experience than you realize. You just need the opportunity to use it. Lucia grabbed her mother's hand. Mama, you should do it. You're so good at helping people. This is perfect for you. Suzanne looked at her daughter, then at Michael, her eyes shining with tears and hope and possibility. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I want to do it. I want to help build something that matters. Michael felt a surge of satisfaction. This was exactly right. Suzanne wasn't just someone to be helped. She was someone who could help others. She had wisdom and strength and compassion earned through suffering. She would make an incredible leader for the community center. Then it's settled, Michael said. When Lucia is fully recovered and you're both settled into your new apartment, we'll start planning the community center together. We'll make it something special, something that really helps people. As Michael left the hospital that evening, he thought about how much had changed in less than 2 weeks. He'd followed his housekeeper through the rain one night, and it had transformed everything. Lucia was going to live. Suzanne was going to have a new career helping others. A warehouse full of homeless families was going to become a real community center. And Michael Jordan was learning what it truly meant to use his success for something that mattered. He pulled out his phone and called David Chen, his lawyer. David, I need you to start the paperwork to purchase that warehouse building. I want it done as soon as possible, and I want to set up a new division of my foundation specifically for helping homeless families. This is really happening? David asked. This is really happening, Michael confirmed. I'm all in. As Michael drove home through the Chicago streets past the wealthy neighborhoods where he lived and toward the struggling areas where Susan and Lucia had suffered, he understood something profound. He'd won 5 NBA championships. He'd been named MVP multiple times. He'd achieved fame and fortune beyond most people's wildest dreams. But none of that, absolutely none of it, felt as important as what he was doing now. Saving one girl's life, helping one family find hope, creating something that would help countless others in the future. This was his real legacy, not the basketball records or the sneaker deals or the celebrity status. This, helping people who needed it, using what he had to lift up those who had nothing. And Michael Jordan, driving through the night with a smile on his face, knew he was finally doing what he was meant to do all along. 1 week later, Lucia was discharged from the hospital. Michael and Vanessa arrived that morning to help Suzanne take her daughter to their new home, a 2-bedroom apartment in a safe neighborhood on the north side of Chicago. Suzanne hadn't seen the apartment yet. Michael had wanted it to be a surprise. As they pulled up to the building, Susan gasped. It was a beautiful brick structure with a clean entrance and flower boxes in the windows. Nothing fancy or extravagant, but worlds away from the warehouse. This is it? Suzanne asked, her voice shaking. This is home, Michael said with a smile. He helped Lucia out of the car. She was still moving slowly, careful of the healing incision on her chest, and they all walked into the building together. The apartment was on the 2nd floor, and Michael had made sure there was an elevator so Lucia wouldn't have to climb stairs during her recovery. When Suzanne opened the door to apartment 2B, she stopped in the doorway and started crying. Again, the apartment was fully furnished. Her comfortable couch sat in the living room with colorful pillows. A small dining table was set up near the kitchen. Fresh flowers sat in a vase on the counter. Everything was clean and bright and welcoming. There are 2 bedrooms down the hall, Vanessa explained, leading them through the apartment. Rosa, yours is on the right. Lucia, yours is on the left. Lucia walked into a new bedroom and gasped. The room was painted a soft lavender color. There was a bed with a fluffy comforter, a desk for studying, and a bookshelf that was already filled with books. Everything from novels to science textbooks to books about basketball. But what made Lucia start crying was the poster on the wall. It was Michael Jordan mid-jump shot, frozen in that perfect moment of athletic grace. And below it he had signed it personally, to Lucia, dream big, work hard, never give up. Your friend Michael Jordan. This is too much, Suzanne said, standing in the doorway of her own bedroom, which had been furnished with equal care. Mr. Jordan, this is all too much. It's exactly enough, Michael said firmly. This is your home now, Rosa, yours and Lucia's. The rent is paid for the next 2 years through the trust we set up. After that, you'll have your job at the community center and you'll be able to afford it yourself. But for now, I want you to just focus on taking care of Lucia and letting her heal. Marcus and Jasmine came running in from the hallway where they'd been waiting. They'd helped pick out some of the furniture and decorations, excited to help make the apartment special for their new friend. Do you like it, Lucia? Jasmine asked eagerly. We picked out those purple pillows for your bed because Marcus said purple is your favorite color. How did you know that? Lucia asked, wiping tears from her eyes. Your mum told us, Marcus said. We wanted everything to be perfect. Lucia hugged both children, careful not to squeeze too hard because of her healing chest. It's more than perfect, it's like a dream. While the kids showed Lucia around the apartment, pointing out all the special touches they'd helped with, Michael and Vanessa stood with Suzanne in the kitchen. I will spend the rest of my life trying to repay you, Suzanne said quietly. Both of you. You've given us everything, Lucia's life, this home, a future. I don't even know how to begin thanking you. You already thanked us, Vanessa said. You took care of our children for 3 years. You brought love and warmth into our home. You gave us far more than we're giving you. And besides, Michael added, in a few months, you're going to be working harder than you've ever worked before. Getting that community center running is going to take everything you've got. Consider this apartment and Lucia's recovery time as your preparation period. Rest up. Spend time with your daughter. Heal together, because when Lucia is strong again, I'm going to need you focused and ready to change the world with me. Suzanne smiled through her tears. I'm ready for that challenge. More than ready. Over the next few weeks, Lucia's recovery progressed beautifully. She grew stronger each day. The scar on her chest healed cleanly, a thin red line that would fade to silver over time. Dr. Reeves examined her regularly and was amazed at how well she was doing. I've never seen a patient bounce back this quickly, Dr. Reeves told Suzanne at one of the follow-up appointments. Lucia's heart is functioning perfectly. The repair is holding strong. She's exceeding all of our expectations. When can I start being more active? Lucia asked. When can I play basketball? Dr. Reeves smiled. Let's give it another month for the bone in your chest to fully heal. But after that? I don't see any reason why you can't start playing. Start slow, no contact sports at first, but shooting hoops, dribbling, light exercise, that should be fine. Lucia's face lit up like the sun coming out from behind clouds. Really? I can really play. You can really play? Your heart is fixed, Lucia. You're a normal, healthy 13-year-old girl now. You can do everything other kids your age can do. That night, Lucia called Michael, something she'd started doing once a week to update him on her progress and thank him again for everything. Mr. Jordan. Dr. Reeves said I can start playing basketball in a month. A real month, not like someday in the future. One actual month from now. Michael grinned at the excitement in her voice. That's fantastic news. You know what that means, right? What? It means we need to start preparing. So I'm going to come over this weekend and we're going to talk about basketball. I want to know what you already know, what you've learned from watching games, what moves you've practiced in your head. You're really going to teach me? Lucia asked, her voice filled with wonder. I made you a promise. I always keep my promises. That Saturday, Michael showed up at Suzanne and Lucia's apartment carrying a basketball. Lucia was sitting on the couch reading a book about heart surgery. She'd become fascinated with the medical field since her operation. Ready for your first lesson? Michael asked. But I can't play yet. Dr. Reeves said another month. Who said anything about playing? Today we're going to talk about basketball. The mental game. Because the game up here, he tapped his temple, is more important than anything you do with your body. They sat together on the couch, and Michael began teaching Lucia about basketball strategy. He drew plays on paper, explaining how offenses and defenses worked. He talked about reading the court, anticipating where players would move, understanding the geometry and rhythm of the game. Lucia absorbed everything like a sponge. She asked intelligent questions that showed she really had been studying the game during all those hours watching videos at the library. You said in an interview once that basketball is like chess, Lucia said. That you have to think 3 moves ahead. Can you explain what you meant? Michael was impressed she remembered that interview. Okay, think about it this way. When I have the ball and I'm facing a defender, I'm not just thinking about getting past that one person. I'm thinking about where my teammates are, where the other defenders are, what passing lanes are open, what the shot clock is at, how tired everyone looks. I'm processing all of that information in about 2 seconds, and then I make my move based on all those factors. So it's not just about being athletic, it's about being smart. Exactly. Plenty of players are athletic. The ones who become great are the ones who are also smart. The ones who study the game, who understand strategy, who can think under pressure. Lucia's eyes were shining. I can do that. I'm good at studying. I'm good at thinking. Maybe I won't be the fastest or the strongest player, but I can be the smartest. That's the right attitude, Michael said. Use your strengths. Your intelligence is a huge advantage. Don't try to be someone else. Be the best version of yourself. They talked for 2 more hours about basketball philosophy, about famous players and legendary games, about what it took to be successful not just in sports but in life. Suzanne sat in the kitchen listening to them, a smile on her face as she heard her daughter laugh and talk with such passion and energy. When Michael was leaving, Lucia stopped him at the door. Mr. Jordan, can I tell you something? Of course. When I was really sick lying on that cot in the warehouse, I used to have these dreams. Dreams where I was healthy and playing basketball on a real team with a real uniform. Dreams where I wasn't sick anymore, where I could run and jump and feel strong. Those dreams were the only thing that kept me going sometimes. Her voice grew soft. But I never really believed they would come true. I thought they were just fantasies to help me get through the hard times. And now, she gestured around the apartment, at her healthy body, at the basketball Michael had brought. Now the dreams are real. I'm actually going to get to play. I'm actually going to be okay. She hugged him tightly. Thank you for making my dreams come true. Thank you for believing in me when I couldn't to believe in myself. Michael hugged her back, feeling his eyes burn with tears. You made your own dreams come true, Lucia. You survived. You fought. You never gave up. I just opened a few doors for you. You're the one who's walking through them. A month later, Dr. Reeves cleared Lucia for light physical activity. Michael kept his promise and took her to a private gym where they could practice without crowds or cameras. Lucia stood on a basketball court for the first time in her life, holding a real basketball in her hands, and started crying. Sorry, she said, wiping her eyes. I just never thought I'd actually be here. Standing on a court. Healthy enough to play. Don't apologize for feeling your feelings, Michael said gently. This is a big moment. Take your time. They started with the basics. Michael showed her how to hold the ball properly, how to dribble with control, how to position her feet for a shot. Lucia was awkward at first, of course she was. She'd never actually played before, but she was also determined and focused. Don't think about being perfect, Michael coached. Just focus on learning. Every great player started exactly where you are now. Even you, especially me. You think I was born knowing how to play basketball? I practiced for hours every single day. I missed thousands of shots before I started making them consistently. The difference between good players and great players isn't talent, it's willingness to fail and keep trying anyway. They practiced for an hour, and by the end, Lucia was exhausted but glowing with happiness. She'd made her first basket, a clumsy shot that barely went in, but it counted. Michael had cheered like she'd won a championship. Same time next week, Michael asked as they were leaving. Can we make it twice a week? Lucia asked hopefully. I have a lot of catching up to do. Michael laughed. Twice a week it is. Over the next 3 months, Michael worked with Lucia regularly. Sometimes it was just the two of them in the gym. Sometimes Marcus and Jasmine came along and they played together. Occasionally, Michael would bring along one of his teammates from the Bulls to teach Lucia something specific. Footwork, defensive positioning, how to read a pick and roll. Lucia improved rapidly. She would never be the most athletic player. Her body had been through too much, started training too late, but she became smart and skilled. She could shoot accurately from mid-range. She understood spacing and movement. She played with intelligence and determination. You're good, Michael told her one day after a particularly impressive practice. Really good. Not just for someone who started late. Actually good. Lucia beamed with pride. Good enough to try out for a team? Absolutely. In fact, I already talked to the coach at Lincoln Middle School. They have a girls' basketball program and they're starting tryouts next month. I told her about you and she's excited to meet you. You did? Lucia's eyes went wide. What if I'm not good enough? What if I don't make the team? Then you practice more and try again next year. But Lucia, I've been watching you. You have heart. You have skill. You have basketball intelligence. Any coach would be lucky to have you on their team. The day of tryouts arrived. Suzanne and Michael both went to watch, sitting nervously in the bleachers, while Lucia went through drills with about 20 other girls trying out for the team. Michael could see Lucia was nervous. She made a few mistakes, missed some shots she normally made. But she also showed flashes of brilliance, a perfect pass, a smart defensive play, a beautiful shot from the corner. When tryouts ended, the coach, a woman named Coach Ali, came over to talk to Michael and Rosa. Your daughter is interesting, Coach Ali said to Rosa. She's clearly still developing her skills, but she understands the game better than girls who've been playing for years. Where did she learn to read the court like that? Suzanne smiled. She had a very good teacher. Coach Ali glanced at Michael, recognition dawning. I see. Well, Mr. Jordan, you taught her well. Lucia made the team. She probably won't start right away. She needs more experience first. But she's going to be a valuable player. I can already tell. Lucia, who had been waiting anxiously nearby, let out a scream of joy when she heard the news. She ran over and hugged her mother, then hugged Michael, then hugged her mother again. I made the team. Mama, I actually made the team. I'm so proud of you, Mija, Suzanne said, crying happy tears again. So proud. That night, back at the apartment, Lucia was too excited to sleep. She kept looking at the practice schedule Coach Ali had given her, at the team handbook, at the information about getting a uniform. Suzanne sat on the edge of Lucia's bed, stroking her daughter's hair like she used to when Lucia was small. Mama? Lucia said quietly, Do you remember when I asked you if I was going to die? Back in the warehouse. I remember. I was so scared. I really thought that was it. That I would never get to do any of the things I dreamed about. Never go to high school. Never go to college. Never play basketball. Never become a doctor. Never just live. Lucia turned to look at her mother, tears in her eyes. And now I'm lying here in my own bed, in our own apartment, with a spot on a basketball team and a future ahead of me. How did this happen? How did we get so lucky? Suzanne thought about that rainy night when Michael had followed her. About how one person's curiosity and compassion had changed everything. I don't think it was luck, Mija. I think it was God putting the right person in the right place at the right time. Mr. Jordan didn't have to follow me that night. He didn't have to care. But he did. And that one choice, that one decision to pay attention to someone who was struggling, it saved your life. I want to be like that, Lucia said seriously. When I grow up, I want to be someone who pays attention, someone who helps people who are struggling, someone who makes a difference. You already are, Suzanne said, kissing her daughter's forehead. You already are. In his own home across the city, Michael was sitting in his office, thinking about Lucia, about how far she'd come in just 4 months. From dying on a cot in a warehouse, to making a basketball team. From hopeless to hopeful. From invisible to seen. Vanessa came in and put her hand on his shoulder. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about how one night changed everything. If I hadn't followed Suzanne that night, Lucia would be dead right now. It's that simple. One choice made all the difference. You make good choices, Vanessa said. That's who you are. But how many other Lucias are out there? Michael asked. How many other kids are dying because nobody notices them? How many Rosas are working themselves to death trying to save their children with no help? I can't stop thinking about it. That's why we're building the community center, Vanessa reminded him. That's why you're creating programs to help homeless families. You can't save everyone, Michael. But you're saving the ones you can. Michael nodded, but something still bothered him. He pulled out his phone and called Rosa. Mr. Jordan, is everything okay? Suzanne answered, sounding concerned about the late call. Everything's fine. I just have a question for you. That warehouse where you and Lucia were staying, how many families were there? About 6 families. Maybe 25 people total, including children. And how many of those families are still there? All of them, as far as I know. Mr. Jordan, why are you asking? Because I want to help them too. All of them, not just with a renovated building, but with real support. Medical care, job training, housing assistance, education for the kids. Everything they need to get back on their feet. Suzanne was quiet for a moment. You really mean that? I really mean it. Rosa, what happened with you and Lucia? That opened my eyes. There are so many people struggling in silence, and most of them never get help. They just disappear. I can't take that keep happening. Not when I have the resources to do something about it. When do we start? Suzanne asked. And Michael could hear the determination in her voice. As soon as Lucia is strong enough that you can commit time to it, maybe another month or 2. Mr. Jordan, Michael. I'm ready now. Lucia is doing so well. She's in school. She's on the basketball team. She's healthy and happy. I want to start helping other families. I need to. After everything we've been through, I can't just sit here and not do anything while others suffer. Michael smiled. Okay, then we start next week. I'll have my team put together the plans for the community center renovation. And Rosa, I'm going to need you to do something for me. Anything. I need you to go back to that warehouse, talk to every family there, find out what they need, medical care, job training, housing, whatever. Get their stories. Help me understand how we can help them most effectively. Can you do that? Yes, Suzanne said without hesitation. Yes, I can do that. After they hung up, Michael sat back in his chair, feeling more energized than he'd felt in months. This was it. This was what he was meant to do with his success. Not just save one girl's life, but change the system that made girls like Lucia invisible in the first place. Create something that would help families before they reached the point of desperation. Catch people before they fell through the cracks. Build something that mattered. Something that would last long after he stopped playing basketball. Something that would be his real legacy. And it all started with following his housekeeper through the rain one night, paying attention when it would have been easier to look away, choosing to care when he could have chosen indifference. One choice. One night. One girl. That's all it took to change everything. 6 months after Lucia's surgery, the community center opened its doors. The old warehouse had been completely transformed. Where there had once been exposed brick and broken windows, there were now clean walls painted in warm colors. Neon windows that let in natural light, and a safe, welcoming space that barely resembled the building where Suzanne and Lucia had once struggled to survive. The grand opening was scheduled for a Saturday morning in early spring. Michael had insisted on keeping it low-key. No media circus, no politicians making speeches for cameras. Just the families who would use the center, the volunteers who would run it, and a few close friends and supporters. Susan stood at the entrance wearing a professional outfit that Vanessa had helped her pick out. She was the director of the Alley Family Community Center, named not after Susan herself, but after the idea that every family deserved support and dignity. Susan had argued against naming it after her family, but Michael had insisted. "You and Lucia are the heart of this place," he'd told her. "Your story is why it exists. People need to know that this center was built by someone who understands their struggle, because she lived it." Now, as families began arriving for the opening, Susan greeted each person warmly. Many of them were familiar faces from the old warehouse shelter. They looked around in amazement at what the space had become. There was a medical clinic staffed by volunteer doctors and nurses, a job training center with computers and resources for resume writing and interview preparation, a childcare area where kids could play and learn while their parents looked for work or attended training sessions, private sleeping quarters for families who needed emergency shelter, real rooms with doors and beds and privacy, not just cots on a warehouse floor. And in the back, taking up a significant portion of the building, was a full-size basketball court. Lucia stood on that court now, wearing her Lincoln Middle School basketball uniform. She'd played in her first official game 3 weeks ago, scoring 6 points and playing solid defense. Her team had lost, but Lucia hadn't cared. She'd been playing basketball, really playing, living a life she never thought she'd have. "This is incredible," Maria, the woman who had volunteered at the old shelter, said to Rosa. She was now the assistant director of the community center, helping Suzanne manage the day-to-day operations. "Do you remember what this place used to look like? Cold, dark, scary. And now look at it." "I remember everything," Suzanne said quietly. "I remember lying awake at night on that cot next to Lucia, listening to her struggle to breathe, feeling so helpless. I remember thinking we would both die in this building." She looked around at the transformed space, at the families exploring the new facilities, at children laughing as they played in the childcare area. And now this building is going to save lives instead of just witnessing suffering. That means everything to me. Michael arrived with Vanessa, Marcus, and Jasmine. The kids immediately ran to find Lucia, excited to shoot hoops on the new court. Michael walked over to Suzanne and gave her a hug. "You ready for this?" he asked. "Running a community center is a big job." "I've never been more ready for anything," Suzanne said. Michael, do you know what the best part of this is? What? Every family that walks through these doors, I understand them. I know what it's like to be desperate. I know what it's like to be invisible. I know what it's like to need help, but be too proud or too scared to ask for it. When they talk to me, they're not talking to someone who pities them. They're talking to someone who's been exactly where they are. Michael nodded. That's why you're perfect for this job. You have something no amount of money can buy: credibility. They trust you because you're one of them. Dr. Reeves arrived, volunteering her time to staff the medical clinic 1 day a week. She found Suzanne and Michael and smiled broadly. This is wonderful. Do you know how many families avoid medical care because they can't afford it? How many children go untreated for treatable conditions? Having a free clinic here is going to save lives. That's the goal, Michael said. We want to catch problems early, before they become emergencies. Before families end up in situations like Suzanne and Lucia were in. As more people arrived, Michael noticed a young mother with 2 small children. She looked exhausted and frightened, clutching her children's hands tightly as she hesitantly entered the building. Susan noticed her too, and immediately walked over. Welcome. I'm Rosa, the director here. What's your name? Carmen, the woman said quietly. I heard about this place from someone at the homeless shelter on 5th Street. They said you help families? We do. Come with me. Let's sit down and talk about what you need. Michael watched Suzanne lead Carmen to a quiet area with comfortable chairs. He saw Suzanne take the woman's hand, saw her lean in close as Carmen started crying and telling her story. Whatever that story was, Suzanne would understand it. She would help. This was why the center existed, for women like Carmen, for families like Susan and Lucia had been, for people who just needed someone to see them, to care, to help. Vanessa came up beside Michael and slipped her hand into his. You did something amazing here. We did something amazing, Michael corrected. You, me, Rosa, Dr. Reeves, all the volunteers. It took all of us, but it started with you. It started with you following Suzanne that night and choosing to help instead of looking away. Michael thought about that night 6 months ago. It felt like a lifetime ago and yesterday at the same time. He'd been a different person then, someone who thought success meant basketball championships and endorsement deals. He was still that person in some ways. He still loved basketball, still competed fiercely, still wanted to win. But now he understood that winning meant something bigger than sports. It meant making a difference. It meant using what he had to help people who needed it. Dad, Jasmine called from the basketball court. Come shoot hoops with us. Michael walked over to where his children were playing with Lucia. Marcus was trying to teach Lucia a layup technique, and Jasmine was playing defense. Room for one more? Michael asked. Always, Lucia said with a grin. They played together for a while, the 4 of them, just enjoying the game and each other's company. Michael noticed how natural Lucia looked now on the court. How healthy, how happy. 6 months ago she'd been dying. Now she was thriving. After a while they took a break, sitting on the court and drinking water. Lucia looked around at the community center, at all the people it would help, and her expression grew serious. Mr. Jordan, Michael. Lucia still sometimes struggled with calling him by his first name, even though he'd told her to. Can I tell you something important? Of course. That night you followed my mom to the warehouse. Do you remember what I said to her? When you were standing outside the window. Michael remembered. He would never forget those words. You asked if you were going to die. Lucia nodded. I really thought I was. I'd felt myself getting weaker every day. I knew my heart was giving out. I was so scared, but I was also almost relieved, I guess, because at least the struggle would be over. At least I wouldn't have to watch my mum work herself to death trying to save me. She looked at him with those wise old soul eyes. But then you came. You saw us. You cared. And suddenly everything changed. Suddenly I had hope again. Suddenly there was a reason to keep fighting. Lucia touched the scar on her chest, hidden under her basketball jersey. This scar reminds me every day that I was given a second chance, that I was dying, and someone saved me. It reminds me that I need to make my life count. I need to do something important with all the extra years you gave me. You don't owe me anything, Michael started to say, but Lucia interrupted. I know I don't owe you, but I want to. Michael, I've been thinking a lot about what I want to do with my life. I told you before I wanted to be a heart surgeon like Dr. Reeves, and I still do. But I want to do more than that. She gestured around the community center. I want to build places like this. I want to help people who are invisible, who are suffering in silence. When I'm older, when I'm a doctor, I want to create clinics that provide free medical care to families who can't afford it. I want to make sure no child dies because their parents can't pay for surgery. Marcus and Jasmine were listening intently. Marcus said, "That's a really good goal, Lucia." "It's an amazing goal," Michael agreed, his voice thick with emotion. "And you know what? I believe you're going to do it. I believe you're going to help thousands of people. But here's the thing," Lucia continued. "I couldn't do any of that if you hadn't helped me first. You saved my life, but you also showed me what's possible. You showed me that one person who cares can change everything. That one person paying attention can save a life." She looked at him seriously. "I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be that person for others. The person who pays attention. The person who cares. The person who helps. Just like you were for me and my mom." Michael felt tears streaming down his face. He didn't try to hide them. "Lucia, you're already that person. You always have been. You used to read stories to scared children at the shelter when you were sick yourself. You think about others before yourself. That's who you are." "I learned it from my mom," Lucia said, looking over to where Suzanne was still talking with Carmen. "She always helped everyone even when we had nothing. She taught me that kindness doesn't cost money. It just costs attention and care." The four of them sat together on the basketball court in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Jasmine said, "Can I say something?" "Always," Michael said. "I used to think Dad was a hero because he was good at basketball, because he won championships and everyone knew his name. But now I think he's a hero for a different reason." "What reason?" Michael asked. "Because he saw Miss Susan and Lucia when they needed help. And he helped them. And now lots of other people are going to get help too because of what he started. That's what real heroes do. They help people." Michael pulled his daughter into a hug. "You're pretty smart, you know that." "I learned from the best," Jasmine said with a grin. As the afternoon went on, the community center buzzed with activity. Families toured the facilities. Volunteers signed up to help. Dr. Reeves conducted health screenings in the medical clinic. Children played basketball on the court, their laughter echoing through the space that had once been filled with despair. Suzanne found Michael later in the day, after most people had left. She looked exhausted but happier than he'd ever seen her. "We helped 17 families today," she said. 17. Some needed immediate shelter. Some needed medical care. Some just needed someone to talk to help them figure out their next steps. 17 families, Michael, in one day. "And this is just the beginning," Michael said. "Once word spreads about what we're doing here, we'll help hundreds. Maybe thousands over the years." Suzanne looked around the center, her eyes shining. "I keep thinking about that night. The night you followed me. I was so scared when I saw you standing there in the rain. I thought you were going to fire me. I thought my whole world was ending. She laughed softly, but it was actually beginning. My real life was beginning. Everything before that night was just surviving. Since then, I've been living. Really living. Lucia said something similar earlier. Michael said. She called her surgery a second chance. We both got second chances. You gave us that gift. Susan paused and said, Can I tell you a secret? Something I've never told anyone, not even Lucia. Of course. That night in the warehouse before you arrived, I had decided to give up. I was going to tell Lucia that we couldn't fight anymore, that I couldn't save her. I was going to say goodbye. Suzanne's voice broke. I was actually going to let my daughter die, because I couldn't see any other way forward. I was that desperate, that hopeless. And then you appeared, like an angel sent from God. And suddenly there was a way forward. Suddenly hope was possible again. She grabbed Michael's hands. You didn't just save Lucia's life, you saved mine too. Because if she had died, I would have died inside. I wouldn't have survived losing her. Michael pulled Susan into a hug, both of them crying now. You would have survived. You're stronger than you think. But I'm glad I could help. I'm glad I was in the right place at the right time. It wasn't just about being in the right place, Suzanne said. It was about being the right person. Someone who cared enough to pay attention. Someone who saw a problem and decided to fix it. That's rare, Michael. That's special. As the sun set over Chicago, Michael stood on the basketball court in the Alley Family Community Center and looked around at what they'd built. This place would help people. It would save lives. It would give families the same second chance that Suzanne and Lucia had received. And it all started with one simple decision: to follow someone through the rain because he was worried about her. One decision. One night. One act of paying attention. That's all it took to change the world. Lucia came running over. Her cheeks flushed from playing basketball. Michael, guess what? What? Coach Ali called. She wants me to start in our next game. I'm going to be in the starting lineup. Michael felt his heart swell with pride and joy. That's incredible. I knew you'd earn it. Will you come watch? Please? I know you're busy with basketball and everything, but it would mean so much if you were there. Lucia, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Text me when and where, and I'll be there in the front row. Lucia hugged him tight. Thank you for everything. For saving my life, for teaching me basketball, for showing me that dreams can come true if you don't give up. And if you have people who believe in you. You saved yourself, Michael said gently. You fought. You survived. You never gave up. I just opened some doors. You're the one who walked through them. As Lucia ran back to keep playing, Vanessa came over and put her arm around Michael's waist. You know what I love most about this whole thing? What? How it changed you. 6 months ago, you were a great basketball player. Now you're a great human being. You found your purpose beyond the game. I'm still a great basketball player, Michael protested with a smile. You're a great basketball player who's also making the world better. That's the difference. Before, basketball was everything. Now it's just one part of who you are. The other parts, the helping, the caring, the building something that matters, those parts are just as important. Michael thought about that. She was right. Basketball still mattered to him. He still practiced hard, competed fiercely, wanted to win championships. But it didn't define him anymore. It was what he did, not who he was. Who he was had become something bigger. Someone who paid attention. Someone who helped. Someone who used his success to lift up others. Come on, Vanessa said, tugging his hand. The kids want us to play one more game before we go home. They joined Marcus, Jasmine, and Lucia on the court. The five of them played together as the last light faded from the windows, their laughter and the sound of the bouncing basketball echoing through the community center. This was Michael's real championship. Not trophies or rings or records, but this family he'd helped save, this place he'd helped build, these lives he'd helped change. Years later, people would talk about Michael Jordan's basketball legacy. They would mention the championships, the MVP awards, the iconic moments on the court. But Michael would know that his real legacy was built in a community center in Chicago. It was in the life of a girl named Lucia Ali, who grew up to become a heart surgeon and opened free clinics across the country. It was in the thousands of families who found help and hope when they had nowhere else to turn. It was in the example he set for his own children about what it meant to use success for good. It was in one simple choice made on a rainy night, to pay attention, to care, to help. That was the real victory. That was what it meant to truly win. Some time later, Lucia stood at center court during halftime of a Bulls game, her heart pounding with nervousness and excitement. The arena was packed with thousands of people, all of them watching her. Michael had arranged this moment as a surprise. He told Lucia and Suzanne they were coming to watch a game. He hadn't told them that during halftime, Lucia would be honored as the Ali Family Community Center's first success story. The announcer's voice boomed through the arena. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 13-year-old Lucia Lee." The crowd applauded as Lucia walked to center court where Michael was waiting for her. She wore her Lincoln Middle School basketball jersey with pride. "Lucia," Michael said into the microphone, his voice carrying through the arena, "6 months ago, you were fighting for your life. You had a serious heart condition, and doctors said you had only months to live without surgery. But you didn't give up. You fought. You survived. And now you're here, healthy and strong, playing the game you love." The crowd applauded louder. Lucia could see Susan in the stands, crying happy tears. "But more than that," Michael continued, "you've inspired all of us. Your courage, your determination, your refusal to give up. That's what it means to be a champion. Not the trophies you win, but the battles you fight. Not the points you score, but the example you set." He pulled something from his pocket, a basketball already autographed by the entire Bulls team. "This is for you. Keep playing. Keep fighting. Keep being the amazing person you are." Lucia took the basketball, tears streaming down her face. The crowd gave her a standing ovation. Thousands of people on their feet, applauding a girl who 6 months ago had been invisible, dying in a warehouse, convinced she didn't matter. But she did matter. She always had. And now the whole world could see what Michael had seen that rainy night when he'd followed Suzanne through the darkness. He'd seen someone worth saving. Someone who would go on to save others. Someone who proved that every life, every single life, has value and purpose and meaning. As Lucia left the court, clutching her basketball, she looked back at Michael one more time and mouthed the words, "Thank you." Michael nodded, understanding everything those 2 words carried. "Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for caring. Thank you for showing me that I matter. Thank you for giving me a chance to live." The game resumed, but for Michael the real victory had already been won. Not on the basketball court, but in the life of one girl who got to live her dreams because someone paid attention in the darkness. Because someone followed a worried mother through the rain. Because someone chose to help when it would have been easier to look away. That was the night everything changed. That was the night Michael Jordan discovered what it really meant to win. And the impact of that one night would ripple forward through time, touching thousands of lives, inspiring countless acts of kindness, proving that one person who cares can change the world. One person. One night, one choice, that's all it takes. And that's the incredible true story of how Michael Jordan's one decision to pay attention changed everything. It reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference. We never know what battles the people around us are fighting. Sometimes all it takes is one person who cares, one person who pays attention to save a life. So we want to hear from you. Where are you watching this video from? Drop your city and country in the comments below. Let's see how far this message of kindness can spread around the world. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. When you subscribe, you're helping us share more stories that inspire kindness and compassion. And don't go anywhere yet. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now for another incredible story that will move you. Remember, you could be someone's miracle today. Pay attention, care, help. Because one small act of kindness can change someone's entire life. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.